Wait. I hear myself. I do not hear you on stream.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, I don't see me. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
No.
Why is your audio bad, though?
No, my audio's bad.
Yeah.
How about now? How about now? How about now?
Better.
How about... Okay.
You're good now.
Stop. I can stop.
Congrats.
Oh, I am so excited for
I'm in echo hell.
You're in echo hell? Oh, yes. I'm gonna do something.
No, you're fine. The echo hell is because I was watching your stream and
but
also
I shouldn't def myself in the
with
Discord call like we're playing the thing, because that would be actually the worst. Yeah, I would like to podcast, but everyone has like 2 seconds of lag. Would be a form of nightmare torture. Okay. So. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome back. It's so good to have you all. Oh,
I'm back to my normal form.
Your normal form. It's very powerful.
Why is there a black bar?
Shh, don't worry about it. I thought I'd set up everything, and there's something I forgot. It's fine. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, that happens.
If chat appears, we can see chat now. Okay, so, hello everyone. It's so good to have you all. It's been a wild ride over here at the Divine Right of Kings. It's been very good. I do have some terrible news, which is that apparently our VOD of our final stream past the 1 minute 18 second or 1 hour 18 minute or so mark. We lost everyone else's audio but mine because of the technical flub. And so it was a really beautiful session, but if y'all wouldn't mind, I would love to recap what happened to start us off. So that way all of the folks at home also get to hear what went down.
I have to say that you are marked down on the little table as being Harvestman.
No! I can't fix that. I can't fix that in a reasonable time scale. I'm sorry. No. Dang it. Okay. Well, while I flub with that. Okay, so I'm gonna flub with that in a second once all this is resolved, actually, because that's kind of a somewhat complicated fix. So to recap, the point where we lost audio, we were negotiating with. And also, when I say recap, I would love if people jumped in specifically to tell me their thoughts or things that they thought were sick or stuff that I am missing, if that's okay with everyone. So when the audio cuts out on that final VOD, we are negotiating with Elias, and specifically we are talking with Spite. I have realized that I put her center frame in this image, so she's disappeared behind DeLorean, but that's fine. That's fine.
My big bulbous mushroom head.
I nailed it. So we're negotiating with Spite over essentially what happened to the Augur, which was very exciting. Specifically, she got real close to shooting Bookkeeper, or at least, pantomimed that she was real close to shooting Bookkeeper, right?
But she didn't.
But she didn't. She came to the agreement with, I think, Bookkeeper. You rolled crazy dice, and also essentially we put her in the position to hold to be the person guarding him, to look after him, to ensure that he goes to trial, right?
When in doubt, she would have the capacity to, just pull the trigger, should she so choose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that concept in combination, instead of just oh, we'll let him go to the court system where he can vanish, right? That in addition to just the amount of trust that y'all had built with her about essentially your willingness to both do the right thing and be honest with her and level with her. Not many people have done that for her in her life, would you believe? Meant that she trusted you, and she did end up joining the crew, which was she did end up agreeing with us. But then as we were talking with Elias, the character we haven't confirmed to be Charlotte, we know, but it's okay. Charlotte found out that we had, like, the rising star that shatters the heavens, was probably Charlotte, had found out that we had made a deal with Carrion Company, who, like, we were physically, because of time shenanigans, we were physically present for Commander Crocuta of Carrion Company, the person specifically that we made the deal with. We were present for her, like, just committing mass murder on behalf of the Augur. And it was an event that her mother only barely survived. And, like, Charlotte was not cool with us, didn't fight us, but it was like, was very displeased with that situation and left. Let's see. Does anyone have any missing things about this moment with Charlotte?
Not that I can think of.
I just think that she handled herself very well, given the situation. Like, you say that she wasn't cool with us. No, her being cool with us was how cool she was in just, like, walking away when she wanted to do violence.
If she was, yeah. I feel like spite, we helped de-escalate, so this didn't turn into a shit show. Because, like, part of this was, like, we would like to not go to combat, because I think people start dying if we go to combat with Elias in this moment. And, like, Charlotte de-escalated herself. She's actually very good at emotional regulation. I feel like I've got the feedback, like, all your NPCs are so unhinged. Charlotte, most hinged person, I say, about the person, the giant muscle fist robot. But,
I mean, we're all big, silly robots of some shape or form, so.
Listen. And we talked with Elias. I think before the audio error, we're talking with Elias about it. I'm so glad that the audio wasn't messed up for the conversation about Elias, with Elias about saying that you perhaps one day will not need a creature such as him, stained with sin, which was fucking. It was so good. I didn't mean for there to be an I'm a monster motif to this last session, but like it kept popping up. And essentially we negotiate with Elias, and this one I will need you to help me remember to make sure I don't miss anything, because I would never unduly steal from you the we will talk about this later, but the amount of concessions you pull out of my NPCs in negotiations, which are crazy. They're next level. I love it. Okay, so you extracted from Elias in concessions. Essentially, there would be not a governing body, but a set of advisors to Elias. One of them is, or he has offered the job to Penn. I think Penn is still allowed to accept or not. Another one of those people on that set of advisors will be Elizabeta. She's going to have the backing both of House of Sand and of Elias. Penn managed to put her really, really in that position. Oh, what's that?
I can't believe he didn't offer Bastion a position. Can't believe it. That's
I mean,
wild.
Bastion, you want to do paperwork?
Bastion would get himself killed. Are you kidding?
Nah, he'd be fine.
What happened? Well, the council chambers became a gunfight on day one. It was
3 duels occurred.
Okay.
That would be the best case scenario.
Right, in the best case scenario, 3 duels occur. Let's see. What other concessions? Because there were a number of them. I don't want to make sure I'm not forgetting any.
So I remember Olmo had a few, right, that he wanted to ring. So one was just general, like, economic support for the population. So we're going to uphold the pillars, meaning that there's going to be, like, open access and equal sharing of food and, like, basic resources, right? And that there should be some kind of, like, UBI at a bare minimum. Like, you should not be forced to work to live.
Very much. And also to not miss Elias's position in this. He strongly agreed with all of that. He also agreed with, I think you mentioned improving the school system. He was also very down for that.
He was like, "Oh, okay, cool."
And that was specifically, in conjunction with like the establishment of the representative body of some sort, which like Olmo was just blown away. They're like, this can't be true, and is still very suspicious of all of this.
Right. Well, because I think a lot of our negotiations with Elias were like, oh, we thought everyone, him included, thought this was going to be a lot more gunpoint diplomacy. We all seem to agree very well. The secret with Elias is that he works very hard to set up situations in which your best bargaining position is to agree with him. Not by forcing you to, but by like, oh, I think you shouldn't kill me because she will just start shelling the city if you do. And like, that's not a thing I have control over, so I can't call it off. So the best situation is to not kill me, right? And similarly, like, he said it a couple times, but like the reason Elias so much wanted you to get more negotiations than you thought you could was purposeful. He wanted you to feel like you got things out of these negotiations because essentially the idea of you doing an armed rebellion while he's trying to set things up for himself was not going to work out well for his goals, right?
Yeah, and like on that level, right, like Olmo is very much happy to deal with that as well, right? There's a certain understanding of like, okay, a transition away from power at Dynasticlade was just good for everybody in the past and could just be good for everybody now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's just a complete lack of like faith, right, that is going to be followed through on, but
right,
hopes to be proven wrong.
What is it? I love being proven wrong. Isn't it nice? Let's see. Is there anything else that I'm missing from the Elias negotiations? Because he does, like, you got a lot from these negotiations. He said
education. He was. Oh, yeah. So we got the education. We got the everyone has enough stuff to live at the very least.
Mm-hmm. We also talked about higher education for ignobles, like Bastion's going to college.
Yeah.
And then some of that was talked about. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say some of that was talked about specifically with the idea of like economic investment and like trying to develop this place, right, as like a center of learning, or like trying to figure out what is its export to the rest of the baronies, what is it going to like survive on.
Yeah. I don't know if we figured that out specifically, but it is like a thing we're thinking about at least.
Yeah.
I think an important aspect that we kind of touched on, but maybe glossed over a little bit, was just going back to the false augur, Devakusu, and like, it's not just that he's going to be facing trial. It's that there was a discussion of basically using him as a political scapegoat for a lot of stuff. And I think that that's just important because when you look at instances where there is extreme political violence, it can be really hard for people to trust the governing body again afterwards, and for very good reason, to be clear.
Right.
That's
you have shown
very
that you are
fair.
not in control of this shit.
But he is in many ways kind of a symbol of the violence that was perpetuated because he had such a role in all of it. And also now we can use him hopefully maybe as leverage with Union, because Union also wants to try him at court. And so maybe that might be a good way for Elias to still look strong while getting support of some kind from Union. And I just think that's neat.
Yeah.
And this desert planet is gonna need support.
Yeah, and I think that it's really important that we get it from as many people as possible. Ooh. And that's a good way to make that happen.
Did we mention repurposing the domes at all?
No.
I don't know if we had a full plan for that.
I think we talked about like the winding down of the forced labor, but I don't think we talked about repurposing them yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, and
But
Elias also
we did
agreed
talk
essentially to helping rehabilitate the folks who would only experience the inside of the domes, and giving them everything they needed and supporting them. But also, he did that in a context where like that was a crime of like this specific guy over here who isn't me, right? That was one of the things we're scapegoating the augur for.
Exactly.
To be fair, I don't think well, that was Elias's game. Like, in terms of like things that he actually did, that wasn't one of them. But
also, like, that was still his house that he was living in, and they very much did have slaves.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of inescapable.
Fucked up. It's fucked up. It's
Like-
And like, there's a reason he needs a scapegoat.
Yeah.
There's a reason he needs a scapegoat. Well, and also like it's very I think like Elias and the Honored Wing are both actually fully in agreement on like I think that the thing that I am is monstrous. Like the thing that Elias is monstrous. Just perhaps differently. I think one of the things he said I said while he was walking away, I was so delighted. I was like, congratulations on your constitutional monarchy, kinda. I think y'all were like, I mean, you can get what you can get. So yeah, Elias retreats. He falls back. Oh, are we done here? The things I'm forgetting. Did I get everything?
I think I don't know.
I think so.
Okay.
I think you're good.
Okay. I'll be thorough. So Elias retreats. And we have a couple smaller scenes while people are cleaning up the aftermath. Elias goes and he's like, Elias goes, his fiance's like battleship appears above us, and
It's
he goes
George's
to
sister.
It's George's sister. Oh yes, so vitally important. The Elias's fiance, comma, the person he was texting at the nightclub, comma, is George's sister, who we saw in one text exchange when Penn, after the nightclub, took George's phone. And George's family is the worst. But now she's going to be, right, theoretically, she is the king's fiance. Which, like, very clearly is part of Elias's maneuvering, right? Because being married to someone from House of Stone puts House of Kings in a much better position, right? They now have a direct bond with a bunch of drastically more powerful and wealthy allies. Okay, but yes, so he goes to hunt the Maw with his fiance, to let the essentially to end the blockade for the House Guard and let the refugees into the dome so they can be safe until this crisis has passed. Like we have put all the pieces in place for this to move forward, right? And then we have a bunch of littler scenes. Penn, you called your mom, which was fascinating. Yeah. And please let me know if I'm mischaracterizing it. Essentially, you called her and talked to her, and she was very displeased that you had not gotten on a plane and left the planet. And had instead stayed. She was not happy with you. And also, she was grateful to you because she didn't know if it would have worked out so well, the deal she had made with Elias to move all those Duskwings onto the planet. She didn't know if it would have had...
Death's heads.
Death's heads. Thank you.
No, you're all good.
Hey, if my proper nouns are missing, please correct me. I'm terribly sorry. Yeah. And so, right, she's the one who was essentially made that, like, was making the deal with Elias for that mass order of Death's heads. And, like, if his coup had not gone well, like, the reason she was so cagey at you clearly is, like, if that coup had not gone well, like, it was falling on her alone and no one else. And
Yeah.
also you and your dad would be taking a trip somewhere so that it wouldn't, the consequences wouldn't land on you and you just wouldn't be coming back, right?
Yeah.
And like that's a part of that vibe. Let's see. And then gosh, the Honored Wing came up to Olmo. And Olmo, you got offered a spot in the Albatross?
Yeah. I mean, a very interesting and singular offer, but also one that would very much tie them right to a particular set of ethics and a very specific way of life.
It's true, right? The Albatross is a very specific way of life. Like there's Metropolitan and there's Albatross Metropolitan. In terms of like the faster than light travel, right? That makes your time different than everyone else's subjective time. But you do have that offer that you can accept, and he gave you a locket that lets you contact the Albatross, that allows you to call them.
I like that it's a necklace.
Yeah.
It's a fancy little necklace.
I think
Collecting those.
cool
You think
badasses.
that all the Albatross have cool little necklaces that they use to talk to each other?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Forget
Oh,
about
call
comm beads.
badges.
We have
Oh,
forget about Star Trek
medallion.
comm beads. They're all gorgeous pieces of jewelry. Which I love conceptually. Philosophically. And then like Spite and Bookkeeper dug into sort of we're like, hey, let's go find like the wine cellar in the ruins of Percy's house. It was so cute. It was so cute. I feel like Spite has had precious few moments of actual camaraderie with people, and it's so sweet to see her like actually getting to have positive and supportive people who want to just like hang out with her. And that she is emotionally in a place where she can just hang out with people. And there was a very sweet moment where we were sitting together with Percy, and Bastion was talking about how excited he was to go to college, and how like this is the first time that he had experienced hope for the future in this way. Oh, please.
Or I just said, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I feel like Bastion's realization that these changes would have actual direct impacts on him is also a really important part of the like political maneuvering conversation. Like when we were talking with Elias and we were like, but I get to go to college? Like acknowledges that like for all that the political maneuvering can feel very high-minded, like it very much directly impacts people's lives.
Yeah.
And Bastion was talking with Percy about like how excited he was for the prospect of getting to go to college. And Percy had this moment where he said, in this moment, it feels like hope. It feels like getting to look forward to the future. And I wish this moment could go on forever. And that was our closing line of the season. And it was so good. And did I get everything? Does everyone feel like is there stuff I'm missing? Is there last recap
so.
thoughts? Oh, it was really beautiful. Y'all are really amazing storytellers. Look, I'll do that later. Okay, so last time we did this, we were missing Marziman, which is just a tragedy. And B, I didn't have questions prepped. I have questions prepped, which is why there's a PowerPoint presentation. I'm sorry for the flashbacks that it may incite in some of us. So I wanted to ask. Actually, stream.
I don't know why you made me deal with more of these, because it was so fun the first time.
It was so fun the first time. I'm looking forward to this.
This is actually just a visual aid. It's not actually a PowerPoint. But listen, so I wanted to ask, like, one of the first things I was going to ask about, like, how we felt about, no, I messed up the PowerPoint. Damn it.
PowerPoint.
How'd you fuck it up?
Elias, the episode 4 is on here twice instead of it should be episode 4 and episode 5. I don't know how that happened. Listen,
Well,
I made a lot of this stuff for this talk back at a dead sprint, so it's gonna be a little janky. So thank you for your patience. Okay, so I wanted to ask about like what people's thoughts were about each of. I sort of loosely organized the series into like 4 arcs because they kind of loosely fall into 4 arcs. Like there's the first arc, which I sort of considered like those first 2 episodes where we meet and we duel the Percy and George and the other noble scions, and we go to the party in the gala and we fight through the gardens, which was episode 4, and we meet Charlotte and we fight Elias, which is episode 5. And then we go to the bar,
Lofton.
which were
We
6
do
and
fight
7.
Lofton.
Lofton. I don't know why the Sephiroth boys, their names have just squished in my head. We fight Lofton, right? The secret is you killed Lofton so hard his name has just left my brain.
As it should be.
And I wanted to ask, like, what were highlights from the party, or like from that first duel, or that the party, or the bar afterwards, and what were people's thoughts and stuff?
I think the party was one of my favorite episodes.
Oh yeah.
I think it was so fun to just be introduced to so many characters. And also it felt like there was a lot of freedom there to explore and endless possibilities. I don't know. It was really fun.
I feel like that's not something. I feel like that's something I don't always succeed at, but like I love being able to just like, here's this giant thing, go wherever you want, do whatever you want with it. Like one of the reasons the prep took so long was because I tried to build an environment where you could go anywhere in this sandbox and find, there would be interesting stuff to interact with. Right? There was enough interesting stuff on deck that wherever you went, there would be something cool to find there. Oh, it was so good. I feel like, and we also got, it felt like sort of like, it was only the 3rd episode, right? But it felt like the first time we like really got to see each of the pilots show off their interests and the things they were interested in doing.
I liked it because it was my first chance to actually talk to Elizaveta, because obviously she, as an NPC, was a character that had been living in my head for a bit. But that was the first time that I actually, got to talk to her and see how you handled her, and like, and it was really fun. I enjoyed it quite a lot. I'm
so glad I did a good job. For context, everyone, like, this is not a thing I requested. Everyone brought at least one NPC that they wanted to hang out with. I think, actually, yeah, everyone brought at least one NPC they wanted to hang out with, like, on a regular, active basis. Harvest Moon was like, hey, I want to hang out with my Sekhmet, who's my aunt. Who's actually, I think Auntie was like my invention, but you were like, I want to hang out with the Sekhmet that's been passed down through my family through generations. And Lauren was like, oh, I would like to take the fuck yeah NHP perk, which like that was also my first response on Lancer. I want to raise machine consciousness. That's so cool.
How can we make this mechanically work?
Right, exactly. And now can we find a way to I still want to find there's a later supplement talent that like makes your mech is just like full of different NHPs. It's great. When you start floating.
Wait, you can make like a system?
Transcendence.
No, there's one that gives you a bonus for every NHP in your mech.
No, it's kind of a trick, right? Because I remember that was one of the builds I was trying to think about when I was initially I saw the NHP, right? And I was like, okay, how do I build around this? But the problem was, if I remember right, it was like a full action to deal that and like like however many NHPs you had installed in your mech and then plus a D3's worth of damage. I think it was just
Right.
energy damage every turn, right? And it's like, that's not worth multiple different, like, lines,
The opportunity
right?
cost is rough.
Yeah.
I want to look at it again, see if I can find a way. Because it does sound freaking hilarious.
I mean, I feel like the Black Thumb is a good kind of like compromise, right? Because you get so much utility out of Black Thumb, just being able to be like, okay, all burn, all heat, never a problem for me.
Right. Oh. Speaking of which, I also I was very worried after so the fourth episode of this arc, the fourth episode of the show, but of this arc was the Garden, which was a combat that I learned some things running my second Lancer combat about scale and distance and pacing. And I'm so glad y'all stuck with it, because it was grindy and not great, and not as I think narratively directed as a lot of the other fights in the show. And I'm so glad y'all stuck with it through that one, because I also really liked episode 5. We had tech problems in that one too, but with Charlotte and Elias or Lofton and Charlotte and Lofton. Speaking of which, hey, what was everyone's first impression of Lofton? Because I want to know.
I'm pretty sure everybody pegged him as a prick, from the get-go.
I mean, I just was like, what a fun villain. I love him. And by I love him, I mean I hate him, but he's such a fun villain.
I feel like Lofton, I learned a lot. I was like, oh, this, I have to accept in myself as a storyteller that even though, that it's okay for my characters to say truly unacceptable things.
Yeah.
That sometimes it's okay to depict ugliness. It's separate from me being ugly, because Lofton says some truly unfathomable things to people.
It just makes eating his face fun later,
And I think also the bar afterwards, right, where we go to that bar, we invite Elizabeth, no one's comfortable, we have that misunderstanding with Charlotte, we sort of we connect with Eleanor, because we also invited Eleanor. By the way, Eleanor, one of those characters, I'll talk about that later. That's inside. That's behind the screen stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Thank you all. Any more thoughts on Arc 1 before we step forward a little bit?
I'll say I very much like that first fight, honestly, that we ended up live streaming. That was quite good too.
Yeah, the first the brawl.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad people liked it. I was like, there's narratively, I wanted because that fight I think is the only one where we have a second, we have a bonus mechanic with the falling statue, and I was like, I want us to do at least once. I want us to do the Superman thing. If you watch a lot of Superman cartoons, a lot of what he does instead of fighting people is he saves people. He stops avalanches. He catches falling planes. And I was like, I want us to be able to use our giant robots literally to protect people from a disaster that's happening, right?
And it was also fun. Afterward, right on the map, you could actually see it toppled over, ostensibly right with the other 2 mechs that we destroyed right on top of it.
Yes.
Yeah. That was
also that I wanted to once we saw the overworld map, I'm like, I want you to be able to see the stuff you've done. I feel like the overworld map is something that I want to talk about in depth at some point, because I was like, I want you to be able to see the stuff you've done, because so much of this story is about this specific place and how we're affecting it and how we're interacting with it. I'm glad it was good. That was my very first. That was my second, I guess, because we did that one pre-stream test combat, but it was my first real, I think, more complicated Lancer combat. I'm glad people enjoyed it. Okay. All right. Arc 2 was longer, and also, whoa. So much. The thing is, I was setting up these slides, right? And I was thinking about, so much stuff has happened. Arc 2 was the spaceport fight, and the first appearance of our Horus contact, and that's before we get into the like that was sort of the preamble, because that follows into the episode where we where Bastion like has his first like date. Did we call it a date? Bastion, did we call it a date? You rode horses and also sword fought. Is that a date?
I think they might have dipped away just for a moment.
Oh, that's very reasonable.
I will call it a date.
Yeah. Sorry. Also, spaceport fight in which Bastion gets shot, because it changes everything from that point onward, right?
Yeah.
In which Bastion gets shot and the stakes become like, oh, people can die. Bastion has his first. Perhaps we will split the difference and call it a rendezvous with Percy.
God. Percy
I'm not
would
calling
like
it a
that.
dalliance. That's too far. Rendezvous. It's nice and balanced. We have the pit where we fight Carrying Company for the first time, and we see that event in the past. We discover those mass graves.
And we meet our boy.
We have Ship in a Bottle, where I'm so glad that everyone was patient with me. I was so hyped for the deterministic, self-reinforced stable time loop in the sunken ship under the desert sands. We have that one with.
One sec.
What was that?
I said I leave to go get water for 1 second.
Oh my! I'm sorry. We had to recap, and I'm like, well, every episode I have to say like a paragraph about. I'm trying not to, but like, we do so many things every episode of the show. We have the one where the thumbnail is very clearly different. We have the first appearance of the Maw proper, which I want to ask people more about in a second when we're done doing the little recap. We have coming back from that and talking with the NHP from the ship. We have the club arc. All of this in one. How did people feel about, I don't know, each stage of this? Maybe I should go in top 3. How do people feel about that spaceport fight?
It was wild.
I liked threatening a man, just like a human man.
I forgot
I
about
thought that was
this.
fun.
I forgot about Uppies.
I gotta remind the Augur a lot of times that I witnessed him have a full fucking breakdown. And it was fun every time I gotta do it.
It's
Because it made him so upset.
It's so. I mean, one of the things with the Augur, right, is he's like, I'm so powerful in command, and if that is in threat ever, he just starts losing his mind because his grip on power is so flimsy. How did we feel about Bastion getting shot?
I mean, I felt bad about it.
Oh.
I had imagined that going differently.
Yeah, that was interesting. That was a lot.
It was a lot.
Set some precedent.
Yeah.
Vis-a-vis staying in the mech versus getting out.
We still got out of the mech, and I love that for us.
We did eventually. There was definitely a little period where people were very conscious of their mech.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I feel like people were more conscious, like we're very conscious of it going forward. Like it was like people will take that action in the future, but it's now with the context of like, oh, this could kill my character. I feel like there's a secret of the way we've been running this game of like. The health bars actually protect you because narrative combat happens outside of health bars, and thus anything can happen to you.
Yeah.
Gosh, and I also, this is very important. This is when like Bastion getting fixed up is when Elizabeth when Penn promises Elizabeth and through her by extension the House of Sand that favor. Gosh, how do people like Ship in a Bottle? Like, now reflecting on it, the time loop adventure, how did people enjoy that? Was it a good time? Did you have a good time with it?
I thought it was good.
It was shockingly good for how bad it could have gone.
That's fair. It's
because
you know,
it was a good time.
Yeah,
and it was also fraught. Just all the concepts in play could have gone so badly if handled wrong.
I mean, it's always a you know, a safe narrative choice to create a time loop. I honestly, I remember after running it being like, I'm shocked that you guys didn't do more chaos to it, because like I was a little worried that y'all had been a little quieter in your responses because you were worried that acting wrong would have blew up my story. Because I spent like a month meticulously thinking through how to design a time loop such that a deterministic time loop, such a deterministic, asynchronous, retrocausal time loop, such that any action you took in there would have explained and already caused the events you had already experienced up to that point.
See, I think our characters were just too sensible in that they were freaked out enough that they did not want to go poking and prodding at this place.
Except for Bastion.
Well, yes, and like even there, right, very much with a focus degree. Like we didn't just want to go ahead and like start like banging on the walls and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, listen, if I send you back in time and you just start kicking over all the furniture to see if there's a butterfly under one of them and you can cause a like a chronal incident, I fully support you. I think you should cause time incidents. I think it'd be good.
I mean, Penn was approaching it like it was an actual haunted house. Because that's kind of what it was. It
was very a haunted house.
Uh-huh.
I didn't quite. I was hoping it would be. I think. I'm glad that it worked out. Everyone really loved it. I wanted to make sure that you didn't feel like you were being railroaded, because when I run a game, I want to create an environment for you to interact and do whatever you want, right? Not a like A to B cutscene that you must all sit and watch. I had a blast, but also like there were bits in there that like you made it out with things I didn't know you. This is also like there's going to be a recurring theme through all of this where my players walk out of scenes with things that I didn't know they had access to. I love that y'all collected rare books. I thought that was so cool. Like Bookkeeper did his thing. Like it's when Batman. It's like when Batman hangs out with bats. Bookkeeper was like, I would like to look at the books, and acquired the books. Was so good.
There's so many cool things that Bookkeeper picked up that I never ended actually doing anything with. Like I'll make a full list at some point, but like the necklace, the meat, the books.
Oh God, I forgot about the meat.
The meat.
The meat.
Wait, which one was the meat?
Yes,
the meat.
The gift bags. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's gonna be later on. We can talk about it when we get there if we want. But like Tabitha throws this party and that it gets like cut short. I think no, you acquire a truly astounding amount of meat for this party on accident.
And then we never had it because the fucking maw showed up.
And then the maw showed up, so we never did a grill.
Feed the meat to the maw.
I mean, the maw
the
definitely
greatest
ate
crime
it.
of the life obliterating hive consciousness is the intervention, is the fact that it stops us from grilling. Contact would approve of this joke. This joke ghostwritten by him. Speaking of the maw showing up, how did we like our first appearance of the maw? I feel like that was
very spooky.
Scary.
I'm glad he was good. Some of the things he said like leapt out of my throat unbidden. Like I didn't expect him to say, "I am consumption, I am the truth of kings." But that was, sir.
That was good.
Listen. Sometimes a character walks on screen and understands the assignment. It's like, no, I know what I am. I'm proud of it. And you're like, I don't like that. I don't like that. You shouldn't be proud of that. I felt like the maw was like when I started really trying to sort of push on our difficulty. I don't think I succeeded. There's a regular thing where y'all only get structured ones at max as a party, but like the mall was when I started, like, the first appearance of mall was when I started towards that arc of, like, I'm going to turn the difficulty up, which is interesting. How do people feel about Cass? Like, about
That's my little guy.
About the deterministic little guy.
That's my little guy.
I wish that Penn and Cass had more reason to talk, because I think it would have been fun.
That sounds wonderful. I want y'all to talk more. That sounds rad. Oh, okay, and finally for this slide, for Arc 2, how do people feel about the club?
We love the club.
We love the club.
The club was a good time.
I'm so glad people enjoyed it. How do people feel about Percy and George and it's not working out? How do we feel about? There was one beat I was thinking about from the club that I had forgotten, because I think so often in media people it'll be like, oh, and the club, this ominous thing with loud music, and there's all these young people do this strange thing, and I feel like we had a beat with Olmo where we got to actually embrace what is beautiful about going to the club for a moment. Olmo got to just spend some time in the sound and the music and enjoy his presence in this place instead of worrying about all the things that he's been dealing with, which I thought was super cool and beautiful, and I just I wanted to mention it because I thought it was rad.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no, I definitely felt like the character, right, when I was just trying to think of what would they actually find here? Because they're older, they're not, going to be involved in the social scene, they don't really know anybody, there are things they could maybe hack, right, but they're not particularly, looking to do that. That's not what anybody is here to do tonight, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things I work to do is make sure that you all of our characters always had interesting things to do and engage with. Because you all brought interesting characters. I want them to get to do their thing. I really appreciate sort of the fact that throughout this, Olmo has gotten that Olmo has gotten to be a dad and also a full person, if that makes sense. So rarely does the character get to be learning and growing and also be a mentor and a dad. And I think that's rad. I think that's cool.
I mean, it's definitely
also, what was that?
Oh, no, what were you gonna say?
No, please, about this point, because I want to hear your thoughts on that. It's
it has been interesting. I feel just because obviously Olmo, right, would not in any way, shape, or form, right, refer to themselves as a mentor or role model.
Right.
Yeah, but that's Bastion's other dad.
I feel like at some point in here we need to have Bastion tally off all the dads.
And that's the thing, Olmo with dad issues, right, is very much okay, I will allow this, right, I'm not gonna say no, but also, don't do as I do.
Yeah, right. Oh, God.
Look at me.
Speaking of don't do as I do and dads, Bastion, how did you feel about the scene with how did you feel about the scene with our buddy? How did you feel about the scene with Baz inside Olmo's body, unattended?
It was bad. That was
so
the
good.
worst. That was the worst. That was the worst for Bastion, because Bastion has a lot of anxiety and fear and PTSD in him, and then suddenly he's in an alley and there's a person chasing him, and he's like, "Oh, it's my worst fears. It's my worst fears, and they're happening right now, and I'm alone." And then it was Baz, and he was like, "Why?"
Right, Baz, like, "Hi, I want to make sure you're okay. I want to check on you. We're friends." It was just nightmarish.
And then he was like, "I can't explain to you why what you did was fucked up. Definitely ask your dad about it."
I feel like Baz got a good. I'm so glad Baz got that. I feel like it's one of those. At the time, I was worried. I was like, I think this is one of those scenes that could be cut for if I was cutting down a TV show, you could cut this scene. But I'm so glad Baz gets the opportunity to be a cute, charming little guy, and also really just scary. That's
Truly unnerving.
We're friends with all of the NHPs we've hung out with. Like on some level, at least, we are friends. But like also, like you put a fragment of a god inside your machine, and you just hang out with it, and they're kind of unnerving.
Yeah.
And like, I'm glad that there's a moment, right, where we get to see on screen, right, what it is to pilot the meat puppet. So we actually see like not just the aftermath or the like moments before, right, the piloting. We get to see, oh no, it is truly a meat puppet.
I love the degree of body horror. I love that you were like, all right, so I was like, okay, you can use this stuff from Legionnaire because I know you're digging into NHPs, and you're like, okay, I only want one thing. I want it to be able to drive. I want the NHP to get in my body and drive.
It's so much more convenient storing him in my brain than in a hard drive.
Okay, do we have any more thoughts in this moment on this arc?
Who designed George's avatar? Look at that guy.
Oh
yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
I did that. I was creating a guy, and then at the end of the guy, I was like, "This guy's the worst. I hate him." And then I sent him to Beckett, and I was like, "He's the worst. He's the worst. I hate him. Look at him. Like, he's dumb, and I hate him."
It was like really
hot, though.
It was like,
absolutely.
He's so hot. That's part of him being
but
bad.
He's smug. This whole thing is that he's hot and he's smug. And he causes. You can just when I was making him, I was like, he's smug and he causes problems on purpose, and I hate him.
I feel like the fun story about that, like George's little avatar, was like really early days, like before I'd like really talked with anyone. I was like, hey, like you're working on the Picroos, you're having a great time with this. Can you send me a hot and also awful guy? And Capri was like, and Bright Eyes was like, I got you. And it was so good.
I made Eleanor. I made George, and I made
Tabitha.
I made those three. They were my designs.
I can't remember her name.
I didn't do the art, but I made the pictures for them.
Yeah.
Shout out to those artists.
Thank you so much to our picker folks. I'm gonna set up a credits thing because would not have been possible without all the work from all these amazing people. So thank you, all you wonderful people. You rock. Okay. Any more thoughts on Arc 2? We're rolling. I love our avatars, but I just can't take non-verbal cues from them. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Go on.
Okay, how do you feel about... I'm calling this Arc 3. Again, this is like very loose, me calling these arcs. But like Arc 3 I kind of talked about generalizing it to like the section between the ship and the final push, right? The final day. Cue Majora's Mask clock tower noise, right? It was, let's see, that in episode 17 we had, I'm not going to name them, but we had the episode where Percy talked with Shifa. That whole episode kind of felt like the long hangover from the club, if I'm being so for real. I think we also, that was the one where we had that party where Bookkeeper got all the meats. And we like spent more time with Tabitha, which was so important. We had the city on martial law. A lot of whenever I try to describe one of these episodes, I'm like, oh, and also all this other stuff also happened. We had the fight at the temple, which was awesome. I think it was we got to see Red Hen Cascade. There was this beautiful like moment where like we had this set of three where people kept pointing guns at Bastion, and then finally someone fired one of those guns, like one of the house guard like fired his grenade at Bastion, and who had stepped out of his mech, and like there was this swish of wind, and Percy stepped in and parried the grenade away, and it's like, it was so good. It was so cool.
I think it came through in the episode, but when that happened, obviously we have a chat for when we have to step away, or when we want to, communicate a thing, everyone in that chat was like, "Yo!" It was really good.
It was so good. It was so cool. Oh, it was so good. I feel like God, it was one of my favorite beats. And like then the whole fight, Percy and Bastion were being cute at each other. It will begin a trend where I try to have a mysterious person in a mech, and everyone's like, "We know who that is." why are you fucking? That's obviously Percy. Why are you fucking around? We don't have Shars here. We know who's under that mask. Stop fucking around. It was so good. We got to see Red Hen Cascade, which was so unimaginably sick. I could not have orchestrated something as terrifying and exciting and beautiful. It was also like another attempt to like push on that difficulty. I loved when there were these size 2 mechs that just kept like causing these seismic explosions. Was very exciting. Was very cool. I don't know anything else there. No, wait. I'm not diving in. I'm giving the overview. I'm getting lost again. We had the episode where people decided to go into the dome as a prank, and Bastion almost died again. We had the meeting with and then we had the episode where we met with Union admin, and I feel like we have stuff to say about that. I know we've talked about that episode in particular a couple times. We had our first meeting with Spite, and the first appearance of Elias in his Enkidu, where he didn't take any actions. He was just that scary. We had the episode. No! You killed him so hard that now has left my brain. That's the only explanation I can come up with. We had the episode where Percy banished Elias from the No, how did it happen again? Percy banished Lofton from the planet. We had the episode where we checked in with. We did a lot of things that episode, but we checked in with Spite, and we checked in with Elizabeta. We had the episode where we dueled Bastion's friends. Everyone requested NPCs. Bastion's and the NPCs Bright requested were the sort of were Bastion's friends at the spaceport.
Spaceport, yeah.
Which had appeared a couple times beforehand. One of Bastion's friends had appeared at the spaceport fight. One of them had appeared when we were being chased by the Maw. But
she's going to college.
She's going to. We're
She's
so
going
happy
to
for her.
college.
She's going to college, or she's going to free college now, and she just has enough tuition.
Go to Planet Off World. She can go anywhere she wants.
She can go anywhere she wants. She might go
Union
off
paid
world.
for it.
If Union finds out that people are paying for education, they might be displeased. I'm not gonna lie. We'll have a talk about the Union admin in a second. And then I'm so sorry the VOD is cut off at the end of that one, because at the end of that episode we realized that several of the figures in the crowd are just Jan Baylor, are just amalgamations made by the Maw, all watching us have this little skirmish, and the fight breaks down because we have to stop and tell everyone to go back to the city and prepare. And then the final episode of this arc, we talk with Elizabeta, and we spend time with Eustace and Eleanor and Tabitha and George, and we prepare for the oncoming storm. And all of the episodes of this arc were sick. Thank you for the monologue as I tried to explain them all. Does anyone have thoughts? Do you want to go one at a time? Do you want to just sets at a time? Do you want to just shout them out? Whatever. Because there's so much that happens in this arc that it's hard to
I'm sorry, Bastion almost dies so many times. He doesn't do it on purpose.
How many times this arc does Bastion almost get murdered?
Oh, what? I don't know. I'm sorry.
I can count at least 2 just from glancing at the thumbnails. Listen. He's a Nelson pilot in his soul. He will go first.
Yeah, true.
Robot or no.
Next arc, he can't do that because he's going to be in college. And no one can kill him there.
I'm so excited.
You're not allowed to kill people in college.
Yeah.
Rules. It's just facts.
Well, as you know that college is normal and no one overreacts, and
also has access to mechs. That's a bad combo. What?
Well,
Hey.
I just think that it's interesting that there's such a focus on college, considering how colleges are around the world just such like dens for political activity and protest.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Oh no.
Oh no, why could that be?
I didn't plan on that. No, no.
Oh no, that's no part of why the push for education. No.
And I'm just
go.
excited.
Yeah,
That's all I'm saying.
There's a whole slide where I'm like, what are people's excitements for next season? I'm like, you make so many good points. Thank you. I will write them all down in my notebook and present them as ideas that I had.
really, really enjoyed the episode where we were in a mad dash to try and figure out what Percy was gonna do, and then he ended up telling Lofton he had to leave, and I was like, "Fuck, dude, what?" And I liked interacting with Mars. I liked interacting with you in that episode. I thought it was fun.
That was great. Penn was fucking panicking because, like, oh no, Elizaveta's already mad at me, and now all this is happening. Am I supposed to save her fiance?
I really liked. I really want a compilation of every time somebody picked Bastion up in a mech. That's a lot. Bastion got picked up a lot.
Well, the thing is that he kept on leaving his mech.
Yeah, but listen.
We kept being forced to pick Bastion up.
Bastion kept on being the one without a mech.
Yeah.
Also because, like, I think your mech is the only one that couldn't move on its own, and like it was large, so if you were out of it couldn't like follow you, or you know.
Or there's an auger we need to lock in it, you know.
Yeah. I had to put a lot of people in my mech. It was very exciting. That extra compartment came in handy time and time again, which was really fun.
Yeah.
I tried to listen, like, I feel like the size 1.5 compartment is a, like, character choice, and I'm here to support it.
Yeah,
Unless
I mean,
you're
my
one of
whole
those
build was a
mad
character
lads
choice.
who uses the size 1.5 compartment to store your Atlas player, in which case, I have unending respect and also fear you.
What else happened in this arc? I don't remember anything.
I really liked Bastion trying to get across town as the whole city shut down. Like, that was really cool because it felt like we were like very much feeling the texture of the place. I also really like the I'm not gonna call it a B plot. The second arc that was happening while Percy was like, how the whole thing was going down, right? With Olmo. With Olmo at Shifa and having that conversation with Shifa, I thought that was really cool. Where Olmo was like, I am mad and I want to stick it to the people who have done all these bad things, and Shifa was like talking with him about that.
Yeah, mainly just like very concerned about the fact that, like, hey, so you all also seem to not necessarily be on the same level, right, as the people that we're fighting for, and you seem to have serious reservations about using violence. Are you a little bit too scared of losing what you got to actually like follow through on this?
Well, because there are also moments where, like, Olmo said something and she would respond, and Olmo would respond almost not to her, but to an assumed position that he was, like, it felt like when you have those some moments, at least for me in those moments, it felt like when you're speaking with someone who's very used to having an argument and a discussion in a specific way with specific people, that sometimes when you're talking with someone else and that's not what they say, you still, like, the response from that old argument still comes out.
Oh yeah, like, it's very much, right, like an ideological, sort of like rehearsed, right? He has had this conversation online before, right?
Well, like, there's also an element of, like, I know that a lot of people in real life and otherwise are used to like, when they're like, things are bad and it's unacceptable, used to getting the response of, like, actually, you're overreacting. So it's fine, right? And Shiva very carefully and specifically was like, it is good and right that you are upset at the injustice in the world. Like, I'm not telling you that it's not okay for you to be upset at things being wrong and ugly. I'm talking with you about how we go about making it better, which is an important distinction. And I think, it was just cool. It was a really cool beat. I've been thinking about that scene with them for a hot minute afterwards.
Oh, man. Well,
I thought it was rad. I thought it was super cool. Goodness. And also, Bastion almost died again, which I love. I love when that happens.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love when that happens.
You love that.
I don't orchestrate these situations, to be clear. We end up in this situation mutually together.
Yeah.
And I love that for us.
What happened that time? I forget.
What was that?
How did Bastion die that time? Or almost die?
There was a roll to not die to Elias, or to... Heck. Cuss. His name has fully left my brain now.
Lofton?
There was a moment when if Bastion fucked up a roll with Lofton badly enough, he would have lost a... Bastion rolled into 3 levels of difficulty trying to beat Lofton charged with combat drugs. Stop Lofton charged full of combat drugs from grabbing Percy, and somehow succeeded, which was amazing.
With the power of love.
With the power of love. That every now and then you're
How
running a game and you're like,
would I have died if I had rolled badly?
he would have. I mean, I don't know if it would have necessarily killed you immediately. He would have really fucked you up because you had stopped him from doing a thing he wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that was the level of thought that was like in that brain at that moment. Lofton's so gross.
He's dead now.
He's so gross, but he's like so pathetic. I think that's the thing that's worst for me. I'm gonna be real. Is like not only is he like just so I feel such contempt for him,
right?
And also like he sucks not just morally, but like in that he's bad at things.
Yeah. No.
Just like all things.
I also wanted to like mention, like, I really like the episode right before the storm hits. I really like us getting to see what all of your characters valued most in the world. Like, if the world is about to end, who do you talk to? Who do you spend time with? I thought that was really beautiful. I loved all of Bookkeeper, all of your interactions with Eleanor. I love this sort of like, there was this sense of unease where Tabitha suddenly contacted you and was like, I am rethinking a lot of my life. And you were like, about what? And she's like, about Eleanor, but I'm not going to elaborate because I'm not done thinking these thoughts.
Yeah.
I love the way that y'all have checked in on Elizabeth. I think her arc's really interesting.
I love her.
Also, we haven't talked about him as much yet, but how do we feel about Eustace?
I love Eustace!
I've never met him.
Well, you know, you were there.
I mean, how
there.
the player, I think he's very sweet. Bastion doesn't know who he is.
Right. I don't actually know if anyone else has talked to Eustace other than Penn. To my knowledge. Oh man, by the way, no, it's good.
I think
he's
a sweetheart. I think he's a cutie.
I love when someone was like, he has Milo Atlantis energy, and I was like, oh. I mean, I didn't mean that to be the case, but yes.
He does. Who said that?
Yeah, he does.
Was that you? Was that you, right?
It was
Maybe.
so. It might have been.
I don't think so.
No, it was a friend of ours who was watching the show at the time, and I was like,
that's right.
I'm honored. I'm so honored to be. Listen, I also have these feelings about it. Academics. Yes. It was so cute.
No, because I wasn't an Atlantis kid. I was a Treasure Planet kid. So I
can't believe you weren't.
You can't pick one?
You don't have to pick one.
And let us all be honest
I
about
didn't
being...
own Atlantis!
Let's all be
I own
honest
Treasure
about being...
Planet.
Let's all be honest about being an Atlantis kid. We're all of first 3/4 of Atlantis kid. But that's another... that's another thing. That's another...
No, I think I've only seen it like once.
The
I
first
used to
3
watch
quarters
it
of
at
that
least
movie are
once
the
a
parts you remember, and like the last quarter is listen, not every. I still liked it. I still got a lot out of it. It's a good movie. Okay. We talked about the Gathering Storm.
Is that the one with the hot, like, evil lady?
Yes, there's also the hot evil lady.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
She's
it
good.
has a hot evil lady. It has a hot magic lady. It has a hot mechanic lady.
Oh my
and
The hot
God.
mechanic lady is a child, though. I learned recently, like a 13-year-old.
Oh no. It has the
Listen,
hot
I
medic
was
guy.
8. Don't tell. I'm allowed to.
It has the
When I
hot
was
butch
8,
medic
I'm allowed
guy
to-
who gives good massages.
Oh my
Oh,
god,
yeah.
yeah, it does. Hell yeah.
We love that guy.
It has the
guy's so
Frenchman
hot.
who puts... I forget the condiment. Is it... What condiment does he use? It's not paprika. It's cardamom, I think. I can't remember. It has the hot... I mean, I don't know if he's hot.
Oh
There's
my
the
god,
kaboom guy.
he's so hot.
The kaboom
Dr.
guy?
Joshua Strongbear.
No, Mole. I think.
I forgot
the
about
Kaboom
Mole.
guy just named Mole?
No, I thought... Is there a different mole? He might be mole.
God,
I love
he's
him.
So...
I remember this from when I was 8. I can't
Yeah.
give a fool.
He's so fun.
Catch our...
Yeah,
His
we
name
love
is
her.
Joshua Sweet,
Yeah.
and then Helga Sinclair is the other one.
Thank
Helga
you.
Sinclair is so attractive.
Catch our, I guess, Atlantis retrospective secretly within the Lancer talk back, because listen, we have feelings. I feel like all of that cast would be good mech pilots. Is all I'm gonna say. I think they would all be sick. Okay, is there any more thoughts on Arc 3 directly? Because like so much happened this arc. We didn't talk about the Union administration conversation. How do people feel about talking with Union for the first time?
That was fun.
It was about what I expected.
As a player, I should say, it was fun. As a character.
I liked it. It was fun.
I feel like, especially that episode, like I mentioned, like you guys keep extracting things from negotiations I don't know are on the table. The union negotiator like walked into that conversation, like behind just like the background of that character that we didn't like get to see. Right, the union negotiator walked into that conversation essentially prepared to apologize for the fact that she couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
Because of the really like it's not that Union doesn't do stuff, right? It's that Passacalia's promise specifically sits at the apex of a lot of really complicated political maneuvering right now. At this point in time, right? And yeah. Oh, by the way, are you ready for season 2 for the Dawnline short to start hitting? Because time.
Oh my god.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Because the Dawnline short, like, it won't be happening near us. But,
No.
like, it's
What is the Dawnline short?
so.
I don't know what lore is.
No, so a couple people mentioned it sort of offhandedly. The Dawnline short is the thing that's happening in the plot of Union, and will explode about 5 years from 26. I'm not going to quote the actual number because I'll be wrong. But will happen about 5 years from when Lancer's stated timeline is. Where there's a bunch of worlds that both the Harrison Armory and the Baronies lay claim to. We're skipping a lot of stuff. Don't worry about it. And essentially, it is the moment when Union's ability to hands-off talk everyone back to the table stops working.
Oh, good.
And it's not that, like, clearly from the fact that we're all in giant robots, it's not always functional, right? But like it is the flashpoint that we do not know what happens afterwards. And and it's this point of rising tension. Like the reason one of the things happening in the campaign for in the long room like setting, which is one of the first setting supplements they came out with. One of the things happening in long rim is that the reason so much stuff is going on all the way out there is because it's a shipping lane to the Dawnline shore. It's interesting. So like I was really delighted by getting to talk about. My brain is slowing down. There we go. I was really interested in getting it was really nice to get to talk about. I think I talked with Marsman about this, like getting to have a character say with their whole chest, hey, if there's a society that can afford to feed and house people and it's not doing so, that's a form of violence. That's unacceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, like, Bright, you were talking about not knowing the lore. How much of Union did you know going into that conversation?
None. If all of those reactions were genuine, I didn't know any of that stuff.
For context, that's like the Baronies is an expansion for most of Lancer. The core of the Lancer setting, like what most people interact with in terms of when they play Lancer, that was like for that conversation, the rest of the setting peeked in through the side and was like, hey, are you doing okay? And the answer was no.
Yeah.
I don't know. Does anyone else have any more thoughts? I don't want to keep talking at you endlessly.
I'll say it'll be interesting to see the Dawnline Shore coming in too, because they're, I don't know, you have also, right, like Harrison Armory being the main antagonist, because according to like galactic law, right, as we would understand it, according to Union, that space does, officially, right, belong to the, the trade baronies, so they will theoretically be, if they're supporting anybody, supporting them.
But it's also like it's a mess. Like things happening on the Dawnline Shore, there will be members of the Ungratefuls, right? The
oh yeah, loads of Republicans out there too.
Members of the Ungratefuls, right, resisting Carrick control, but they're being sponsored by Harrison because Harrison finds them useful in this conflict. Like it's just a train wreck. Dawnline Shore, terrifying train wreck. Yeah, it's fascinating. Okay. Any more bits? Any more bits and bobs from this arc? We did so many things. Okay, then let's. The final arc, arc 4. The storm ? How did people feel about their city being under siege?
Bad. It was bad.
Quick recap. This is when the Maw arrived at the city proper. We fought them off. We decided to go to Shifa's bar and let others of our allies manage different points of like points of intense conflict. The Albatross showed up to support us. We got to meet the Honored Ring Burkut. We got to have, there was the War Council, in which at least once during each of my campaigns, we have a 3-hour board meeting. I apologize. But I don't apologize.
I don't know why you do that to me.
I don't apologize enough not to do it again. I'm sorry. We had the Cordon, where all of our interactions with Eleanor kind of came to a head. We had the episode where where that favor from House of Sand was called in, and also we had a conversation with George. We had the Bog. I don't know if there's more introduction that can be given from that.
The Bog.
I debated with myself for a long time whether or not we could have a second paracausal dream realm appear in the same campaign. I was like, no, but it's right, but it's cool and it's right and it's good. We had the final showdown with I will get his name this last time, Lofton.
Yay! Yay! Good job.
Like the final 3 episodes. Like thank you for your patience. With how combat high the last arc is. It's because, like, in our mech combat RPG, we usually want the moments of highest, like, emotional crescendo to be giant robot fights. And, like, we had to fight Lofton, we had to fight the King, and, well, we didn't actually end up fighting Elias. I said his name right this time.
I'm so proud.
We didn't end up fighting Elias, which, like, we'll talk about the number of alternate timelines that happen depending on how that last episode turns out. I think I warned everyone at the start of this arc, like, hey, one of the failure modes is this entire city is wiped off the map, and like that doesn't stop being the stakes until the end of the final episode. How do people feel about the Maw appearing?
I really thought it was fun to be able to like call on all the people and the friends that we'd made. It felt very video game-esque, the way it was like, and this person, and this person, and this person, and this person.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like we were being rewarded for like being nice to people.
Well, that's because that's Bastion's whole bit, is like making friends with everyone.
I feel like I did have this like, oh, this is going to be our like Fallout New Vegas Hoover Dam moment when we get to see all of the like we're in like, well, and also because like it's here's the secret, that works in real life when you're nice to people and you make friends and there are consequences, right? Like it happens in video games, but also that's how it really works. Like in moments of crisis, when you've built community and support, suddenly all of that community and support, you're interconnected and able to coordinate because of it, right? I love the moment where we looked at the map and we're like, oh, we can. There were. It was very BioWare-y almost, where there were like these three like, oh, these people are in danger and this critical thing is going to get damaged if we don't step in to help. And you know, there's one of our team and three problems. And I love that you all like, we would like to contact this person and this person and this person.
Yeah,
yeah, it was good. It was very end of BioWare game.
Listen, sometimes.
Yeah, it was.
Sometimes
I just say this
consequences
as
is good writing. So
It was the end of Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, Baldur's Gate. Oh, I was thinking about the end of Veilguard because that's the game that I most recently beat. But yeah.
I was thinking about the
also...
fleet showing up in Mass Effect, but
I was thinking Mass Effect 2, the final like op mission. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah.
Also, I loved like when you were like, I don't know if we should pair Unnamed with Spite. I think they would get along like a house on fire, and I live in that house. Like, they're best buds now.
Yeah, I know.
So glad.
That's a problem. I mean, I'm happy for them, but also, it's like watching two people who are like problems hang out, and you're like, I don't know if they, for their own health and safety, should be doing that, but also I can't stop them.
Right. Oh, it was so good.
What am I gonna tell them? No.
Right.
They
We'll
won't
just
like
do it
that.
more.
Yeah.
And I know I made a joke about it, but how did we like the 4-hour board meeting?
It was more fun than some of the board meetings and games I've had to do. And in the fact that I did just give a bunch of people a hug. Bastion got to hug everyone, and then also try and talk Cass down from having a complete breakdown.
I loved that. I loved that, like, Cass realized that he was experiencing linear time, and we helped talk down Cass from the horror of experiencing linear time. I thought that was great. That was so strange. I really
liked the moment where Bastion was like, I don't know how to fix this.
Yeah, right.
Oh no! Please help me.
Just start doing higher order math, one step at a time.
The soothing polynomials. I also like, well, because the secret is that when I say board meeting, I'm actually saying a bunch of characters we care about get together and talk about things we're interested in and figure out strategies and plans to work on those things, right? Because like it wasn't we were standing in the ruined wreckage of a street figuring out how to plan a point strike defense strategy, a refugee crisis, and potentially a coup ? Like, which is not what most board meetings are about.
I really enjoyed the mechanic that you set up that stopped long cell service long comm calls from happening, because of the cordon. There we go. There's the word. I thought that was really fun and cool.
I was a little nervous about it, honestly. Like the cutting off long distance communication, but I was like, this is gonna make because I was like, oh, what if this limits your ability to communicate with all these people that you have connections with on purpose, right? And I was like, well, what if we? And then I had this moment of like, oh, what if we just limit your access to that communication? Because it means you have to make priority communications to people, which is interesting.
Yeah. So like, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing if it did, like, you said like you were worried about it cutting off all these connections we had, but like that's not necessarily bad. I feel like that's a really cool tone, and also like it makes it's an interesting, it makes things interesting. It enhances the tension, I believe, and also yeah.
Thank you. I think looking back, I also like it. Sometimes in a crisis, you just don't have all the tools you wish you had.
Yeah.
And also, I love that I do like that it's as an element in the problem solving, right? The communication disruption is happening because of something we are doing on purpose, but also really strongly need to keep doing. Is fascinating as a puzzle.
Yeah, I really liked that.
Speaking of people getting out of their mechs, how do we feel about the cordon? How do you feel about the cordon?
What do you mean?
I'm here asking Bookkeeper, how do you feel about the cordon? How do we feel about Eleanor? I'm
looking for that one Dark Souls victory or loss screen that says "Bad bitch fumbled." And, I've never been sadder to fuck up a roll.
I mean, I think that because the secret was that, like, okay, so yeah, I had planned for that to be a fight you could talk down, and I think by the time we reached it, organically, it was not in that place anymore. Like, the characters had made different choices than I had expected them to. Everyone across the board. Also, like, that was the one instance where Tabitha appeared. I think because after the cordon, I think we've had a lot of talks, like, behind the scenes, just like talking about our feelings about Eleanor in that moment, because they're complicated, right? Because, like, how do you judge someone who is doing the thing that they've been taught how to do their whole life, but also it is hurting people, like in the most visible and measurable way. They are doubling down on the things they've been taught to do their whole life. And how do you measure that as a moral thing to do? It's really interesting, and I've loved hearing your thoughts about Eleanor in that moment. I think it's been really fascinating. And I think also, like, rhetorically, like, Eleanor's appearance there, like, it is important that the person who made that kind of choice was someone that we liked and cared about, and still made that choice. Because it's hard, right? Pen, I think you talked about it, like, so disappointed in you being exactly the person I thought you'd be.
Yeah. I mean, because Pen in particular is someone who has grown up, like, in very close proximity to a lot of the, like, individual type of, like, violence that a system like this makes, as opposed to the, like, larger overarching violence, right?
Right.
Like, and so he's in many ways, like, very familiar with how bad things can be, like, and when it comes to, like, interpersonal stuff. I mean, that's one of the reasons why he and Elizaveta broke up, right? Is, like, when it came down to it, the pressure of politics caused as much, I mean, all of the damage to their relationship
Right.
that made it non-sustainable and untenable. And so to then, like, start to kind of, like, see other peers of his as people that he could have hope for, and then having it not pan out, like, that's really hard. Because for a very long time, he's assumed that all of these people are hopeless. And then, you know, he's starting to think of that this can actually be something good, and then it doesn't always work out, even when everyone does truly have the best intentions, and that's very painful.
Yeah. Can I ask, what are our thoughts on Tabitha in that moment? Who swoops in to, like, remove Eleanor from that situation, but also isn't helping with everything else going on.
I mean, I'm not upset with her, right? Like, I think she should do more, but I'm not, like, mad at her.
Yeah.
Nobody died.
Yeah. I mean, some people died. There was at least one person that died.
Okay.
In that specific
Or would be
scene,
Honored
yeah.
Wing just going sicko mode, like, on his own in the corner there, though.
Yeah, I love my third distinct dad.
Well, I think, because, like, well, and also, like, I think that's something we, like, until this last episode, we didn't have context for why the Honored Wing was like, hello, I would like to, like, I am upset enough and determined enough that I am willing to introduce striking for the pilot as an activity. Like, because, like, I think someone mentioned, like, what homebrew rules to use, like, Lancer Raw, people have to spend a half action to eject or it kills them. And, like, that's something I thought we were going to change, and we didn't end up changing because it was wrong for our tone.
I hate to interject.
Oh.
Rules is written, once the mech is destroyed, you are there using it as hard cover.
Oh, okay.
Have
Okay.
to detonate via reactor meltdown to kill the pilot.
Thank you for the clarification. So it doesn't necessarily. So maybe we did it normally, but like the fact that the Honored Wing moved to striking for the cockpit, right, was sort of a like a narrative shift. Like the Maw was more than willing to kill people, but like the Honored Wing was like, you're not going to fire at a crowd of civilians. That is unacceptable. And like, I think I hope that it was like good interacting with the Honored Wing up until the final episode, because there's so much of his modus operandi and his, like, the reasons he's doing and acting the ways he is and is having the big feelings he's having gets revealed in the final episode. I hope that, like, it made sense, or at least that it was, like, interesting to follow and not, like, just confusing.
No, it was good.
No, I liked it a lot. I thought that he was just someone who had a big emotions about things at first, and I liked that as a character choice.
I did, like, I was like on the Honor, because he's a very macho character, like, not in a necessarily an American way, but he's very, like, big and strong and fighty, and like it tickles me when you have, like, a big macho, muscular, good at fighting man character, and then part of him being macho is that he has, as well as being, like, big physically, he also has big paren feelings, close paren, and like I was really delighted by getting to tell a story with a character in it that behaved in that way. I liked him.
He's neat.
Y'all heard
believe...
Oh, go ahead.
No, go on.
I was just gonna say I talked for like 8 months about how I was so excited for this character that wasn't gonna show up till the final arc. Like, I hope that wasn't too annoying. What were you saying, Brian?
I was gonna say, speaking of dads, I can't believe you took my dad away from me.
Oh, we're gonna. Oh yeah. Yeah.
You made Contact leave. You made him grill his bone.
That's the thing we didn't mention during the recap. Dang it, I forgot. One of the phone calls, I'm so sorry. One of the things we mentioned, didn't mention during the recap, one of the phone calls that happened was with Contact. I knew I was forgetting one. Was with Contact, where he's essentially like, hey kid, you did so good. It's time for me to leave. Union is actually here now, and it's time for me to make myself scarce. I'm not a creature of the light. And left. And like it was one of the leitmotifs of that episode where people kept calling themselves a monster or a creature, was Contact calling himself a monster and a creature.
And you took my dad away.
And then he did the spy movie disappear special where you smash the burner phone.
But you did say that there was a sizzle noise.
There was a sizzling noise, and I meant like sizzling of electricity, like he stepped on it. But he's a grill dad, so he definitely grilled that phone. So it was my takeaway. It was so good.
Grilled it afterwards.
How did people like the debt to House of Sand? I thought that was.
I thought it was fun.
It was fun. It was good to see that payoff.
Yeah.
It was fascinating, I think, Alma, when you stepped in and you were like, here's the thing about House of Sand in specific that is upsetting and wrong, and why we should not take this deal with them. I thought was so cool and enriched that scene much more. When you were like, I'm going to make explicit the consequences and side effects of what like optics and PR and image manipulation does, and the consequences it has. Oh no, wait, is Olmo here? Maybe. Oh, Lauren, are you with us?
Sorry, my mic was muted in line.
Oh no! Do you have any thoughts on like almost stepping up to tell us about House of Sand by any chance? Because I thought that was fascinating. I thought that was super cool. Didn't expect it.
It was something that kind of was playing in the background for a little bit. Like in the ball scene, right? In like the first arc, they heard that House of Sand was present, and they were very a little bit concerned by that.
Yeah.
And they just have had run-ins with House of Sand in the past, in particular also just on Sandjack, right? Like, their unit being directly fed, right, like targets by the House of Sand, they know exactly what they're capable of, so they're very concerned, right, about the concessions made to them. And just that they're likely to be one of the major, I don't know, enemies in the coming season.
I feel like we did a really good job of, like, establishing the personality of organizations and also the difference between organizations and the people within them. I thought we did a really good job of that. I thought that was really cool. Speaking for the coming season, you know the guy from House of Sand you interacted with?
God.
He's coming back.
Yeah.
There were so many little characters in here. Well, I can probably talk about this when we get to like talking about next season, but like there were so many little characters in here that are like characters I now am building season 2 out of, essentially. And he's one of them. How do we like the breakup conversation with George? Between Percy and George. Was that fun, TM?
No.
Are we having fun?
No.
Oh, I hope it was okay.
The problem with George is that, like, I can't hate him because he's too pathetic to hate. I'm just like, oh, bud.
He's not like Lofton levels of evil, but he is Lofton levels of pathetic, if not more.
He's I think he's way more pathetic than Lofton.
Yeah? Okay.
I think he's way more pathetic. He's just sad. He's just like a kicked dog when bad things happen to him. You're like, I don't want to do this to you. You're not great.
He's just gross, right? Like when he's being sad, you don't feel sympathy. You're just like, oh, good, okay. Well, also though, still very gross.
I think like I've been interested the whole time about the amount of empathy we've had for George, because George is so much. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
He's just pathetic, and I want to help him. I want him to be less pathetic. I'm so excited to hang out with him next season.
Well, like, he's so pathetic, but he's also, like, George actively, right, the reason that first fight happened where we were fighting in the middle of, like, a poorer district of the city is because George initiates that, and that's not the first time he'd done that. Like, George's patheticness has had consequences for people. They haven't been Lofton-scale consequences, but, like, has had consequences for people. And I think it's really touching that we were like, actually, we as a party have decided that restorative justice is the direction we want to take this instead of punitive justice. Like, we can fix him. We can make him better.
Because George is one of those characters. There are, like, characters that you can fix and characters that you can't.
Right.
Like, Lofton is unfixable because he doesn't want to change. I think given the option, George can and will. He just has so many influences in his life that are awful, like his sister and his fucking mech. Like, yeah. But given the opportunity, I think that George can and would be a good guy.
Right. Oh, speaking of, and his mech.
My God.
Before we tap away, because I like basking in people saying nice things to me, how did we like the segments doing violence to each other at the end of that episode? Did we have fun?
I mean, it's always a delight.
I love that things came out of my mouth about the segments fighting each other that episode, that looking back on them, I was like, oh, that makes me uncomfortable. That makes me, that feels bad. What's the Randy Felt face? Like, people aren't supposed to do that. It makes me feel yucky in my tum-tum. Like, how did we like I think this was the most cutscene episode. How did we like the bog?
Bog facts?
Bog facts.
The bog facts. I liked the bog. The bog facts were good.
The bog facts were good.
Did you actually stream any bog facts? Or was that just entirely
It might have been just around the edges. Sorry, behind the scenes. Before and after episode, we just started talking about bog facts because we love bogs so fucking much because they're cool and we love them. Was it... I want to ask, like, the answer can be no. Was it okay that episode was so cutscene-y? Like, it felt, of the episodes, like, the most, like, one in which I have a place I'm trying to reach from these plot points. And I feel bad about doing that because not how I like running games. But also, like, yeah, like, because, like, she was interacting with you, but she, like, so much of that episode was like, I need to let her express this arc because it's like we've been building all season to Redhead explaining herself.
Yeah. No, my sentence was going to be, it was cutscene-y, but it didn't feel railroady, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I do have something to say. So, the one point of contention was it felt like there wasn't a whole lot for us to do because we didn't understand the shape of things until the end. I personally, I don't speak for everyone else, would have preferred more railroading to that effect, actually.
I dig that. And, like, just more guidance on what to do.
Yeah, because it felt like there was a lot of, at least on my part, this could have just been me, feet shuffling, like, okay, what's next? What's going on here?
Well, and I think, actually, like, please do gumshoe sleuthing in a dreamscape is, like, not a prompt that everyone is like, I know what to do in this situation. Like, it's very reasonable. Like, I'm in a dream. I don't know how to ask a dream questions. That's not a reasonable thing to ask of anyone. So it was very fair of you to feel lost. Can I ask how we felt about Red Hen's arc?
Good.
I like your mic clip. It's beautiful.
Blood Ant.
Did we have any thoughts on it? Because I thought really, because when Harvest Moon, you were like, I would like a segment, I was like, as soon as you were like, I want a segment, segments are cool, I was like, okay, how do I build a segment with an interesting, like, how do I find something interesting to say, or for this character to be thinking about herself, right? By the way, go ahead.
Oh, I was just say, they definitely took on a life of their own in a way I didn't expect at all. Was thinking about it, and they are actually over-equipped to be a piece of farming equipment, even without licensing privileges. Being impaired and slowed does not actually stop you from carrying stuff around a farm and, like, plowing stuff.
I think if she needed to, she could terraform a barren rock on her own, and I think that's very sweet.
Wait, one more time?
I think if she needed to, she could terraform a barren rock on her own, manually. And I think that's very sweet.
I don't think she should be alone.
No. But also, I just had the sudden image of this, like, this segment, like, unlearning violence, and learning to heal and to take care of things, and, like, making a barren rock green again over, like, thousands of years. I was like, oh, that's very sweet.
This is like the time when Vagabond, the manga about Miyamoto Musashi, the greatest duelist in Japanese history, just like they took a whole last chapter to go, and now he's going to learn from the ground up how to make rice field.
Because it's hard.
The most engaging shit ever.
Because I think characters getting to unlearn violence, there's a lot of complex things that I was trying to talk about with her. One of them was characters unlearning violence, but also, like, Red Hen is not, like, she's having a good time when she goes axe murder mode. Like, that's not what it's about. It's that, like, it's not because violence is inherently bad to her. It's that she's doing what she can to make the world a better place for the people she cares about. And she just does so in a very, like, inhuman length of time, inhuman capacity for changing the world, asymmetrical approach way, right? And, like, none of it takes away from the fact that she's an ominous murder machine. I want to shout out Harvestman. Thank you for being like, so I want the segment murder NHP, but I would like her to be a chicken because chickens are scary as hell.
Chickens are.
And you were right.
You were so right. Oh. That was, by the way, that was not me. That was all Harvestman. Harvestman was like, no. That's an animal with a knife for a face that establishes hierarchy through dominance. I want her to be a chicken. And it was sick. Oh, okay. Bottom row. Thank you all for going on this journey with me. I love hearing your... Oh, please.
Sorry.
No, please.
I also like how this final arc was just Percy saying cooler and cooler shit.
I feel like if this arc went a different way, Percy would have gone, like, Percy would have gone full Magneto was right. I think a lot of, like, over the course of this, a lot of Percy's arc has been, like, learning from Bastion, but also bringing in his own. Like, they're a really good pair for a lot of complex reasons. That I'm not actually the best equipped as I think other y'all are best equipped to speak on. But, like, part of Percy saying cooler and cooler shit because he was getting more and more done. Like, there's a thing that happens in Tom Bloom's Kill 6 Billion Demons, where, like, at the beginning the main character is like, I am from LA, why are you all speaking in a weird gobbledygook language? And, like, as it progresses, she starts saying more and more, like, wild shit. Because she's just learned to speak the language of this place in this world. And, like, I felt like that's, like, the final arc, we were definitely approaching that, especially with Percy.
I mean, Percy spoke like that the whole time.
Percy
always spoke in...
Oh, sorry, please.
Complex sentence structures.
He's a Baroque boy.
Yeah, he is.
Fancy boy. Fancy lad.
Sorry for interrupting. I didn't mean to interrupt. I want to hear more of your thoughts.
No, that's all I had to say. He's just,
okay.
He speaks in poetry.
He does. Speaking of wonderful language, how do we feel about the final appearance of Lofton? Final V2.
I'm gonna lose my shit if he comes back as a homunculus.
I mean, there's a second him out there.
There is a version of Lofton that went off planet. Yes! This is the thing that happened.
Yeah, we know this isn't over.
Yeah, but, like, is that actually him?
I mean...
Okay, if we want to get into the ethic and, like, the metaphysical conception, right?
I mean, it is, I assume, a clone with his memories.
Yeah, like, as long as it's got his memories. If it's got his memories, it's enough him that I want it dead.
Speaking of which, I really liked the moment when Bastion gotta be like, I'm nothing like you, and then just walk away. because that was really important to me, I think, character-wise.
It was so beautiful.
Bastion to not have to, like, deal with him anymore. Be like, I'm actually good. I'm good out here. Fuck you, I'm leaving.
I thought that was really beautiful. I really liked that choice.
I also really liked how Pasha immediately decapitated him right afterwards.
Yeah.
Well, Bastion didn't see that because he turned away.
Yeah, no, I think that it was all good. I think that it was good character beats for everyone.
Yeah.
I really appreciated it.
Whoa. All of you make such cool character choices all the time. It's so good. Well, because it very much felt like Bastion when Bastion walked away. To me, it felt like it felt like Bastion does not actually, like, you are wrong. The final step of Lofton being wrong is that Bastion doesn't have to sink to his level and doesn't have to be a part of the way he thinks the world works.
Yeah.
Which was sick. And also, it was terrifying when Pasha was like, maybe you finally have found someone like you. That was so scary and ominous. And I think that Pasha, like, slowly more and more is owning his heritage over the course of this season, kind of quietly, and I think it rules. Or at least that's the feeling I got, was it felt like Pasha sort of starting to own his heritage as it's progressed, and as, like, his, like, I have grown up in medieval feudalism. I know what it's like. Sort of, it felt like it was becoming more and more pressingly relevant with every passing episode.
Yeah.
Super excited for season 2, by the way.
Oh, no. Oh, wait, it's interesting because I feel like season 2 we might get to move more away from that feudalism, right? Like, if Elias succeeds in a lot of his goals, we're moving farther from that being the cultural dynamic that surrounds us all the time.
I'm so excited. There's a lot of reasons I'm excited. One of them being that, well, I mean, I just have a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts about season 2, because, like, Bastion is no longer dating Percy, the second prince. He is now dating Percy, the crown prince, which is wild.
Yeah.
Dynamically.
It's wild. Oh, do we have any more thoughts on the Lofton fight, or, like, Lofton's final, like, believing that clearly the only explanation was that Bastion was a secret prince and all of it made sense, like he believed
weird.
Your life was a fairy tale.
That was wild.
Was it wild in a good way? It's my question. Was it wild in a good way? Did it feel like did it feel like an interesting and natural place for him to go? Not that, he goes natural places, but, like, you know what I mean?
It definitely felt like him being, like, broke and grasping at straws, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think, Lofton's very much a character that, like, I put in the same category as, like, Sundowner from Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. If you don't know who that is, you may have seen him in the meme format, such as him throwing his arms wide and saying, like the good old days after 9/11.
Holy shit.
Fucking love that character. He lives in my brain rent free. I think about him a lot because he's so bad. But, like, Lofton very much, like, existed as sort of a, like, as a person, because Sundowner was on my mind because he's sort of similar to Sundowner in that way that, like, he's a very, like, a force of nature villain. Like, so much, like, he was a person, right? He was a very fallible human being. But also, like, Lofton very much is there to be sort of the beacon of a specific viewpoint, right? And believe the things that are culturally ugly and that we don't talk about, whole ass think they're good and cool, actually. And brag about them. And so, like, watching his spiral downwards as the thing he believes keeps getting proved false was fascinating. And it was fascinating to see you guys interact with that.
I can't believe you made a character who was just literally John, Divine Right of Kings.
Which one? Listen, I feel like giant robots are sounded like a hammer, and sometimes someone needs to walk on stage and say the thesis at you. And also, like, I think those characters are extra interesting in a role-playing game context because you, the players, got to make decisions about and debate with him and make your own choices about how you're going to interact with him and treat him. And I thought that was really cool.
And again, when he says it out loud like that, you just get to melt his face off and, like, it's a good time.
Yeah. I just like that in the very first interaction between Penn and Lofton, Penn just ends up saying, "I disagree with you," and walking away.
Mm-hmm.
And from that point on, Penn had nothing to say to him. Like, it was just
Penn
like...
was done.
It was like... And, like, every time he showed up, I'm like, oh, does Penn say something? Like, does Penn try to, like, argue with him or, like, be logical? And it's like, no, Penn doesn't think that he's someone worth debating in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
He should and will be met with violence and nothing else.
Yeah. I loved also, like, we were talking about Percy's sick lines. Percy's, like, arc of, like, I'm so sick of people like you. Like, that was our leitmotif with that phrase. I don't do this on purpose. I swear. But, like, as, like, a recurring phrase, like, people like you, like, Lofton meant, like, the main characters, the special ones. And Percy meant, like, people who have this level of weakness and neediness in them that they need to be the special ones. Which was, like, it fit so exactly into both of the things they were, like, Percy's definition worked in all of Lofton's sentences, but not the way Lofton wanted it to. I'm sorry, I'm gleeful about this, not because I'm trying to gloat, because those happened on accident, and I just rolled with it. Speaking of rolling with it, how do we feel about the king?
Wild.
Wild
to destroy your own house.
He would have been
a good guy.
They couldn't take it if he destroyed it. I don't know if we ever... I worry that we didn't ever actually say that on screen. Like, the reason he leveled the house was so that the ignoble dissidents couldn't take it.
I think you mentioned it at one point.
Yeah. Oh, good. It was important. The thing with the king is that, like, we were doing so much other stuff that, like, most of the king's arc had to happen that episode.
I have to say, like, I feel like he would have been a very, very, very scary mech had he not been grappled the entire time.
That was so sick.
How many grapple checks did he fail? Like, how many times did he fail to take control of that?
It's a quick action. So you actually have to, like, lose action economy in order to contest that to begin with.
And which he should have been, because his hull was ginormous. I am a fool. Sometimes I try to raise the difficulty by making the stakes higher, and sometimes the difficulty doesn't raise because I misplay. It's fine. We don't talk about it. We don't talk. He can
also just be arrogant, right? He can just be like, yeah, no, I'll just have this guy hanging off me, right? While he's getting jerked around.
He was not... The secret is that, like, it's very in character. All of the times when I've misplayed the NPCs, like, from a tactical perspective, it felt very, like, narratively correct. Right, like the king is like, I am at full lash out, not checking in on myself. The time in the pit when Commander Crocuta kept just like walking through people's threats is because she was really excited to do a murder party, and didn't care. And it sounds like I didn't make it clear enough in that moment. When the king was like, I will draws my sword and just jumps towards... Hey, how did people feel about the beat where the king acknowledged verbally that he had been party to monstrosity when he was a child, and then made the audible decision that if he was to accept that the obviously wrong things were wrong, he wouldn't have anything left, so he would go down fighting... who was willing to die to continue believing the thing he knew was wrong. How did we feel about that?
I know old guys like that.
Yeah, that sucks. Poor guy.
Yeah.
I'm glad that his death was quick, and I'm glad that he died.
Brutal? Yeah. I mean, because, like, that's one of the things that I wanted to, like... It's not that the augur is operating in a vacuum, right? Like... I think we say it in the final episode, like, Elias is like, well, actually, it's all his fault, and he twisted my father's mind and it was free, right? And it was so important that, like, the king was not being, like, mind-controlled. He had bad ideas, right? Like, he was making those choices of his own full volition, and the augur was mostly just like taking advantage of a problem that already existed, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not that people like the augur mind control people. It's that they take advantage of a fear by providing it an antidote. How do we feel about the fighting inside the mech while we fought outside the mech, by the way?
Remember when Father Demakusu was like, today I will fight a covert Union team from Union, and then 5 seconds later he was being threatened with severance and eternal homunculus torture.
I did love the threat of eternal homunculus torture. That was so terrifying.
There's that
really
moment where almost like, I don't know that I can do this, but I can definitely try, right?
See, I also don't know if you can do that, but in that moment, I believed you. Fully
You'd
with
give
my
it your
whole
best
heart.
shot.
Bastion was like, my dad, he came. He threatened a man so scarily that he backed off.
Yay!
I love how many dads Bastion gets to have. It's so
He
good.
gets to have as many dads as he wants.
I do wonder, right? So we had a kit. Somebody had a kit to stabilize, right? Like that was part of our.
Oh yeah.
They had, like the patches. Okay, could we have just crushed his legs to make him compliant? Like, could we have just done that, right?
Heinous.
Before you take somebody into the mech, like my plan was to like break their jaw with a little like mech pinch at the very minimum.
I worry about getting that close to the head. I worry about the mech pinch that close to the head, but.
Like the term mech pin.
Just most horrifying conversations. Appreciate you
It
all.
was like Bastion was not. I don't think Bastion could stomach crushing a man's legs.
And we love you for that.
You're so valid.
Yeah.
No, because fighting a robot is different. Yeah,
It's okay. We'll do it for you.
Oh my god!
Look away.
I like Bastion and his 3 terrible monstrous siblings.
Oh.
Just
and
like...
monstrous, I mean like the fact that they pilot ungodly creatures.
Oh my god!
Sure
Yeah.
You toss.
I mean, my creature's very godly.
One thing I'm excited for next season, there were plot threads that didn't pay off yet because they are still percolating, like Penn having some shit going on. It's fine and normal.
Yeah.
Oh god. Actually, do we want to talk? We just did the recap. Do we have any further thoughts about what happened? Like thoughts about what happened in that final episode?
Not the final episode. I am so sad that Penn and Elias didn't end up going home together after the club. I think that would have been really fucking funny.
So good.
It would have been really funny.
That was very possible.
Season 2.
I know! I was so close.
Steal
Season 2, there's still time.
Steal George's sister's fiance. I'm sure that'll go well.
Family! Do it to the...
The whole family.
Oh, I was gonna say, obviously this just means that Penn needs to go home with Elias and his fiance, but, you know.
Pete,
do it!
stay winning.
Do it. Stay winning.
That'll be so normal. She's so normal. We didn't really get to see any of her yet, but, like, she's gonna be so normal.
I mean, everything I've heard, she sounds fun to fight, so.
Ben, how did you like your conversation with your mom?
Good. I had no concept of what Penn's parents were like, and I think that you did a very good job with them overall.
Yeah.
Like,
thank you.
I thought they were phenomenally done.
I think that they were like loving and supportive, and also like very controlling and upsetting and distant.
They were some of the most nerve-wracking scenes for me as a player that I wasn't in.
Yeah.
I'm glad people like them so much. I feel like I think I distinctly remember the moment when I was like, Penn's father stands up, says, "I'm going out," to no one in particular, and walks out of the room, and I was like, yeah, I've been there for those moments.
Oh,
They're
God.
upsetting.
Yeah, no, I thought it was really, really excellent.
I'm really glad you enjoyed them so much. Oh, I feel like that was one of the, like, those were some of the NPCs that I hadn't put as much prep into and ended up naturally developing in a way that I thought was really cool. We'll have a moment when we talk about just how much of this is on the fly, because it's more than I want to admit.
I think it's a lot of it has to be done on the fly, though.
Right.
Like that's not a bad thing,
No.
actually.
Yeah.
I would say.
A lot of the stuff that you improvised ended up being some of the best stuff in the like campaign, in my opinion.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think Penn's parents are a great example of that. Like, I didn't have a plan for Penn interacting with their parents, but I had, like, a set of vibes and ideas, and just sort of rolled with it. A lot of the episodes, like especially Arc 3, a lot of the things that happened to Arc 3 was me like, no, I'm gonna give you the coolest and most radiating consequences I have access to and see what happens. We'll talk about it later in, like, structure, but, like, I think, yeah, and we can talk about structure in theory, but, like, I think that, like, I had an armature for what this plot was going to look like, and because I responded fluidly to the things that y'all were interested in, it made it a much more interesting story, because, like, you, like, people, like, yeah, it's a story between the players and the GM, but, like, it's y'all are very good storytellers and you bring interesting things, and it wouldn't be as rich of a story without you coming to me and being like, I want to see these elements, and then me building a story with you that includes those elements, and seeing your characters make choices in that story. Y'all are just super cool. Any other thoughts on the finale itself?
No.
Okay.
Oh, there was one thing I was kind of interested in, actually.
Yeah.
Just the mechs, right? That and the horrible Horus transformed mechs with people fused inside them, probably.
Yeah.
Ulma was gonna go and check up on them. Like, hey, are any of them left? Are they okay? What's happening?
That might be something we have to figure out in season 2.
Okay. I'm just curious if they're actually alive still.
I'm not gonna nail anything down, but my suspicion will be that at the start of season 2, I don't know how long that, if there's gonna be time jump, how long that'd be. At the start of season 2, they will have fucking vanished after the crisis is averted.
Good.
And we will have to figure out what that means. Because, like, I mean, one of the things I've said behind the screen, but not explicitly, like, sort of like I've said to y'all, but not explicitly outwardly. Like, I worked really hard to try and make sure that we left as few dangling plot threads as possible. Like, the arc 4, the final approach, was really hard for me as a GM, because, like, the world we'd built had grown and grown and grown and grown, and I have to tie in as much of this as I physically can and make it arc satisfyingly and give you interesting things to do and interact with, right? And not just give you like a Fallout ending slideshow. It's like that's not as interesting, and especially not in a role playing game. Like, I want to touch it. I want to interact with it. I want to do things to it, right? And so, like, the Liturgicode mechs are one of the things that's going to be happening season 2 that I'm really excited for.
Excellent.
Also,
no, I'm very excited to see them as well.
Also, like, it's a little thing, but, like, and I know that I did it, but it's another thing that I kind of logistics my way into. I love when a character in media communicates with sign language like it ain't no big thing, and I loved our big robot communicating in sign language. I thought that was very sweet.
Yeah. No, I really like that.
Oh, okay. Any more thoughts on the finale? Okay.
No.
I'll do it. All right. This is the slide where I ask you. I'm sorry I made a slideshow. I apologize. I was wrong. I'm horrible.
I dig it.
No, it's good. It's visual prompts.
It's visual.
We love visual prompts.
That's exactly what it is. It's visual prompts. I wanted to ask: are there any NPCs? Because we talked about a lot of things, right, over when we're going through these episodes. But, like, are there any NPCs specifically that really stood out to you, that you really liked, that you really liked interacting with, or, like, that you thought their arcs were interesting, and, like, why you thought they were interesting?
I mean, I don't have to say mine.
Charlotte.
Yeah. Charlotte
Okay.
was really good.
Can I hear more of y'all's thoughts on Charlotte?
I really like how she was forcefully made ignorant in a lot of ways, but she wasn't naive, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she didn't understand how the world worked, but she also understood that the reason why was like wrong in some way, and she was also very intelligent, and once given access and the tools needed to figure out how things worked, she did so very quickly. And I thought that, like, just who she was as this, like, very smart, kind, compassionate person. Wow, I could not say that word. I don't know, I really liked her, and I liked seeing her get the chance to, like, grow once she was in a place that allowed for that.
I'm so glad I'm so glad she vibed so strongly with a lot of people. I remember at the time when I was like first working on those first 2 episodes, and I was thinking about her, and like leading up to and after the episode, I was like, I have these really strong feelings about this character. I really like her a lot, and I'm not sure where they're coming from. And I'm glad she vibed so strongly with everyone else as well. I think I thought really, because I thought really hard about, like, I want this character to have these struggles and to not be like the butt of jokes for being stupid, because like so often people are like, it is a joke when someone lacks shared skills or understandings, and like,
Yeah.
to her to get to both be learning and very strong and competent was very important.
And I think for me, I really liked how it wasn't a joke, because the reason why she didn't know things is because something terrible was done to her and her family. And so, like, to then, I feel like that would have been tonally, like, really gross otherwise. It's like, haha, look, this person has, I don't know, trauma from the terrible thing that happened. Like, no, don't do that.
Right. And there were moments where it got to be funny, right? Like, there was a moment when, like, I don't know how taps work. I'm just going to start filling all of the things with the water so the water doesn't get wasted. Like, but it's, like, I tried really hard for it to not be, like, it's funny because she doesn't know, but, like, it's funny because, like, of course that is how you problem solve a modern object without an understanding of how to operate the object. Like, she's making a very reasonable choice with a very unreasonable object.
Absolutely.
I'm glad y'all vibe so strongly with Charlotte. Does anyone, like, are there any other characters that, like, you like, stood out to you?
Actually, if I could weigh in on Charlotte, there was one more thing I wanted to mention.
Please.
So I think my other favorite characters were actually the Scions, and it was really interesting to see sort of a, by modern standards, somebody who is, like, antiquated in, like, origin and manner, who actually came from a humble background rather than the Scion's relatively privileged one. I think Charlotte provided that in a way that it was really useful to the story as a whole.
Like the sort of more antiquated flowery language isn't just wealth coding.
Virtually that, yeah. It's just like also knights are fucking cool. And, knight is cool.
Yeah. Because we talked about it a couple times, I think, very explicitly, right? Like the idea that like Eleanor is a knight, but more in the political meaning of that term. But also, like, I think we talked a lot about, like, knights are cool, and also this is what they mean societally, right? Like, the roles of the noble scions, the roles that they're clearly being raised up into, right? This is what that means. And it's not, you know, a one-to-one with medieval Europe, but, like, the parts of that are cool, right? Like, a lot of Percy's strong commitment to doing the right thing comes from a place of, like, believing in an honor code and that there are right and wrong things to do. He's a very Fantasy Knight character, and we love him for that. Yeah, and Charlotte being, yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to turn the camera on. Thank you for the very good thought. What are people's thoughts on the Noble Scions as a crew, as our set of alternate? I was talking about this in a different story. Those 4 would have been our protagonists, very intentionally.
I loved them. They were great.
Yeah.
Were my favorites.
Can I ask, we just talked about, right, a lot of our feelings on Eleanor and Tabitha and George. Bastion, do you want to talk about your feelings about George? Not George, Percy. I can do numbers.
No, because we'll be here for 7 hours. I think he's a really... I thought it was really interesting and fun to watch him grow. And change. And I'm excited. I have a lot of thoughts about Percy. I'm excited for in the next season for him to be able to express more emotionally, because one of the things that Percy as a character is very tight and he's a bundle of guilt and anxiety, and feels the need to have everything in his life in perfect control because of the pressures that was put on him. And I'm excited for him to have the opportunity. I mean, he's even under more pressure now because he's the crown prince, but I'm excited, I don't know, for him and Bastion to hang out more, and for the opportunity for him to grow further as a character. I don't know.
Those are fascinating thoughts. Thank you. I can't probably stream for 7 whole hours, but I like hearing your thoughts on him. I like that you have 7. I'm very honored that you have 7 hours of thoughts about that character. I think that's rad.
Yeah.
Can I ask what? I mean, you talked about what you found compelling about him.
Mm-hmm.
I would say what struck you first about him, but he did shoulder check you into the ground.
Yeah, I didn't have any interest in the beginning in romancing any character.
Right.
And then Rattlebones was like, I ship your character and Percy, and I was like, let me think about this.
Oh no. Oh no, I said it into motion.
Let me put some things on this one. But yeah. Yeah.
I remember, because when I was first writing it, you were like, but I was like, I must include at least 2 visual novel boys. He will, the story requires them. This has been requested of me. I was like, at the beginning, I was like, I have these thoughts about Dubai as a concept. I have these thoughts about Regency dramas, and so it's like, oh, there must be the option for it, right? I'm not pushing your character, pushing in a specific direction, but the option for it. I feel like we ended up in a much more Pride and Prejudice dynamics than I expected. Bookkeeper, I love that you've ended up in such a complicated dynamic with Eleanor. Was so fascinating.
Seeing things get resolved in season 2 is going to be fucking messy, and I'm excited for it.
Oh yeah, that's going to be so normal. Are we ready to try and talk with Eleanor when it's peacetime again? That's going to be so normal.
I won't.
Oh goodness.
Bastion won't.
No.
Bastion will look at her and go, I don't think so, and just leave.
Shit. Let me just actually open up my big book of grudges real quick. Hey, remember the time when Bookkeeper was going to sneak into the dome in a maid dress, and then a week later you were like, my original idea. I'm gonna sneak into the dome,
no.
not wearing a maid dress.
I'm so sorry that I failed you. I forgot about that. That was so good.
Yeah, I didn't remember that either.
We have much ahead of us. I'm sorry I forgot. That was such a good idea. We should put Bookkeeper in a maid dress more often, and we can make that happen. We'll figure it out. We'll find a way.
Very cool.
The thing that we planned while we were actually at a real life club. Don't worry, Harvestman. I have not forgotten. It will happen.
God, is that why we forgot? That might have been why we forgot.
It's because I'm a goobus.
No.
Okay, I'm done being funny.
No,
I remember that night in full clarity. I'm just a goobus.
What happened was we were gonna just get sloppy drunk and do irresponsible things, and then plot happened instead, and it was terrible.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No,
what I should do is let you get halfway into
plot.
doing the irresponsible things, and then the plot happens to you. Goodness gracious. Oh my god, by the way, how did y'all feel about Unnamed and Shifa?
Oh my god, I'm so invested in this relationship.
I can't believe they're kissing.
Wait, Unnamed?
Our Horus contact?
Oh.
I was too subtle. I was too subtle.
Listen, I just, up until this episode, I had not heard them referred to as Unnamed.
Oh.
Because I usually say, like, your Horus contact and, like, leave out the fact that she has a name, because she really, like, aggressively goes without a name. But a couple times when she's appeared on people's phones, she's appeared as, like, an unnamed error code.
I see.
Calling her Unnamed because...
Oh, right! Because she was called Moist Granny, and this is... You can't trick me.
I was so unprepared. I was so unprepared for that bit. It was, instead of being like, internet, please stop saying this about, like, women over the age of 30, it was, like, very funny that we kept being like, Moist Granny, she's only, like, 40-something, like... Why are we doing this? It was so funny. It was so cute. Oh, I hope that she was good, because I loved her. And sometimes there's characters where I'm like, I love this character. I don't know if anyone else does, but me, Blorpo.
She's so important.
No, she was good.
I love her.
She got to be a freak, and I love that for her.
I did love having to navigate, like, around her ego multiple times.
Yeah.
This is what you get for having an ego. You get named Moist Granny.
Just the natural consequences.
Oh, speaking of Blorpos, if I can ask a really self-indulgent question, how do people feel about Commander Crocuto?
She's gonna fucking die.
She's the like one of like the worst characters in this story, and I love her. She's my Blorpo.
Worst hurt people.
No, I forgive her for everything.
Character-wise, she's great.
Yeah. She's the character. I think she's one of the few characters that I've like, looked at. I'm like, and someone's like, "But what about the murders?" And I'm like, "What murders?" She's so good. I worry that she came off as very like anime villain simple, like as a character, like all I'm here to do as a character is I like fighting, which like is part of her motivations, but it's not like there is more going on with her, but it's a lot deeper, and we didn't really get to interact with it because like it's very hard to interact with a person at not at gunpoint when that's the only way they talk or interact with anyone.
Doesn't like her, but enjoys talking to her at the very least.
Yeah.
You know those people where you're like, I can't trust you to do anything good, but also you're entertaining?
I love that of the awful characters, some of them, Penn is like, I'm done with you, and some of them, Penn is like, no, but you are amusing, though. Oh, goodness. Hey, I wanted to ask y'all about your characters. I thought your characters were super cool and fascinating, and I want to talk to you about your arcs. I think one of the things, like in the very beginning when I was first writing this, One of the things, the very genesis of this game, was that I was like, I want to write a cool story about doing, like, fighting back and doing a revolution. And y'all were like, fantastic. I would like my character to be wrong. Unanimously, individually, you are like, but I want my character to be wrong about the way they do revolution in these specific ways. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a different story than the one I was, thought of initially. It's going to be a lot more nuanced. Can I ask, could I ask you if you should, talk about what you remember of where you were thinking your character was going to go and where you feel like they ended up? Harvest, can I ask you?
Only me go first.
Okay. No, whoever wants to go first. And we also don't have to, do this. I'm just curious to hear your thoughts on that.
I have a lot to say, but I want to let other people go first if they want to, because I have a lot to say.
That's so
No, go ahead.
I mean, at least for Penn, a lot of his stuff was kind of based off of the concept of, what does it mean to be, middle class in a caste system? And what does it mean to, and kind of just I like playing with the I don't know, outsider neighbor type role where it's someone who's both familiar but outside of the system in some way, shape, or form. And so I really wanted to approach it as somebody who had a lot of the trappings of the financial privilege that frequently comes with, all of these other things. And ends up but doesn't fit the bill for what it means to something is off somehow in terms for some reason or another he could not be fully integrated into the system of privilege and what that does to people. I don't know. That's where I started with him, and then it got messier and messier.
What interested me also about Penn's arc was that I expected, because at the beginning it was Penn's arc is going to be learning more nuance to his approaches to doing things instead of just smashing stuff because it's cathartic. Where it felt like Penn was almost like a stabilizing force a lot of the time.
Yeah, I think I wasn't expecting him to go that way, but I think just because he is someone who I mean, he's still very much a product of how he grew up, right? So we as a part of the narrative didn't really get to see the part of his life where he was very destructive in terms of just everything, but I feel like he'd been a sledgehammer for a lot of his life, and seeing other people want to do what he felt like is tactics that he'd already tried and been punished for, not necessarily by someone being I'm going to punish you, but just in the way that if you're a deeply unpleasant person to be around, you're not rewarded for that behavior usually,
right? Unless
because I mean, at least for him, because he's not protected, right, by the same systems that a lot of the deeply unpleasant people, antagonists are.
Yeah.
And so, he's I do see the evils of politics, and also this is a skill set I have. I am going to use it to protect and prop up people who don't have access to the same skills that I was given,
I dig that.
That was very long and rambly.
You don't have to apologize. Thank you for the very deep thoughts about. I think the secret is that y'all approached my table with quite deep thoughts about what you were doing, and it is a richer world because of it. Like it would, when I say it wouldn't be the same game without you, I think that y'all had thoughts about stuff that you wanted to think through, and brought those thoughts to my game, and I appreciate all of them. Does someone else want to talk about like their character and where they were like planning to go and where they went?
I need to dip because I am not feeling very well, and my throat's starting to hurt from talking so much.
Oh, so valid.
But I will be in chat and will answer questions if I have things to say.
Thank you so much for joining us for this part of it. I appreciate it.
And I'm sorry your throat's
Yeah.
being a stinker.
I just got, you know, it's the winter. It happens.
It's true.
That's
Winter has
real.
come.
Thank you so much. Okay. Also, people don't have to do a full run through if they don't want to, but like, does anyone else have like thoughts about their character generally?
Yeah. It felt like I as a person bled through into my character a lot more than I would like. Um but one of the things I noticed, which it felt like a lot in a lot of the interactions with Bookkeeper, he was either guns out or incredibly subdued and like awkward. Like a lot of the interactions that I'm genuinely like happy with the execution of, and I thought like resolved things really well, were when there was a very specific antagonistic goal for him to achieve, and like in those cases he was on it, and whenever anything came up that was more mundane, it felt like he either cooked about it or was very passive.
I take that. Well, I think that's also like those are both good and reasonable character choices. I also know from like a lot of folks here, like I've played a ton of games with some of you and not as many games with others of you. Like bleed is not an uncommon part of role-playing games. Bleed is the technical term that a lot of people use. I believe it is from Vampire the Masquerade communities, which is so cute. But I don't actually know the etymology, so don't quote me on that. But like I think it's the liminal. Let's get into deep theory, but only very briefly. That liminal space between our characters being sort of a fictional, like a fictional character that we write, or like, you know, that we write stories about but are not, and our characters being us, or our embodying our character, like that gray area in between is one of the things that I think makes role-playing games really special. I really like about them, because I think it also like it gives us a chance to explore and talk about ideas in a way that's really personal, because we are both there and not. So we're chilling and playing a game with giant robots, and also we're talking about a lot of like I ran this game because like I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about living through the last, good gracious, and like it's good to talk about those and share those, but in a context that has more guidance and also has more like just sort of a barrier of fiction and sitting around the table with friends around it as well.
I'll honestly say also, like, some of what I was thinking of with my character builds off of that in a nice way. You know, for me, like, a lot of the sort of wrong approaches, right, to like revolution that Olmo was looking at were very much rooted in a lot of my frustration, right, in like political conversations I was having with people online, and trying to like find a way to rationalize their argument or find a way to like, I don't know, embody their argument that made sense at least on some level. If that makes sense, where I'm just like, I don't necessarily agree with everything you're saying, but I can at least see the through line in a way that I'm not in some of these conversations.
I thought that was an aspect of Olmo that was very cool, like getting to interact with the person who is that like blisteringly sometimes like unreasonably, I don't want to say unreasonably, because again, the anger is reasonable. Like, it's reasonable to be upset, but like the
There's a purity
unstrategic
test
level of
thing.
anger, right?
Yeah.
The, like, I don't know how to take action on this. I'm just this mad. Because anger it's very hard to like build out a strategic plan when your brain is full of adrenaline. Like, that's hard. And getting to interact with it and talk with that at the table, I thought was very, very cool and a very good and important thing to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was definitely something where I was just very much trying to think of a way of like, okay, how can I at the very least, I don't know, do something interesting with these what would otherwise be very annoying, frustrating experiences of just having to, have these political conversations. How can I at least try to embody this in a way that would be interesting and sort of constructive?
Yeah.
Bright Ice says their concept for their character was shonen protagonist in the mech setting, for a mech setting with the shonen protagonist. I'm like, listen, yes, so much. Bright isn't here, so I don't want to talk too much out of turn, but I also vibe strongly with Bastion getting to be in conversation with, like, there was a conversation we had early on. I'm not gonna speak for Bright about Bastion, but I can talk about him a little bit. There was a conversation. It was at the bar, the party, but where like Bastion was like, "I'm angry. Like I'm gonna deck this person." Which, by the way, I love the Gundam slap. We had philosophical conversations about the Gundam slap. The point in any mech series where words aren't working anymore, and we did a slap. Just beautiful. Just so beautiful. I loved that we as a party transitioned from being like, Bastion, you're mad all the time, you should stop, to being like, no, Bastion's right to be angry, and like we want to be thoughtful about how we engage with that, but like this person like it became apparent like very quickly that like Bastion kind of experienced microaggressions constantly in like every conversation he had with anyone. Which is not something I did on purpose. Not something that was like by design in full. But just kept being who we were talking to when we were talking to them, like the structure of the world we were in, which was fascinating. And it was cool to see all have his back when he was dealing with that. I thought that was very moving. I liked it a lot. I don't know. Do people have any more thoughts on character arcs, either theirs or others? Because I don't want to yam at people.
Harvestman, I know that you said that you were sad about any like some potential bleed and stuff like that, but I think that he was very fun and he was complex and wasn't just like a one-note character that always did things the same way, and I thought that that's how people are, and was really good. So
I'm so glad. Yeah, the idea from the start was also that he wasn't a pushover. Like a lot of the academics, except for the one you were dating, God bless his soul, were breaking stereotypes. And like, I still remember when I was a kid, when I was like, wait, what do you mean Indiana Jones is a archaeologist?
yeah.
He shoots people.
Archaeology annually. I still need
the secret
someone
is,
to make
especially
that
if you're
movie
doing-
that Brendan Lee Mulligan mentioned that one time of like what we deserve in an Indiana Jones movie.
Oh God.
She goes and she's a woman of color, and she goes and she repossesses artifacts that the British Museum has stolen and brings them back to their home cultures. And also she's dating like an old woman. It's like, hell yeah, Brennan, hell yeah. I think Person of Color might have got wrapped into like all of the fan drawings I've seen of them. I don't know if that was in the original like quote, but like, all that stuff is just peak. It's so good.
Brendan Lee Mulligan.
as someone who actually works research, can confirm that people doing research do it manually.
There is a secret Lancer campaign that I might run at some point that is distantly inspired by the Chinese privateers stealing artifacts and returning them home.
Oh, shit.
It's a wild thing. It's a wild thing. Our world is full of wild things happening all the time, y'all.
If I ever got around to running the mercenaries, like one shots, one of the planned missions was going to be a retrieval of Volodorus blink technology, because they are known for hiring mercenaries, notably Spari, to take that shit back, usually from the armory.
Hell yeah.
I know nothing about the Volodorus, and they're very cool. I know very little, and all I've heard is very cool. Lancer's a big setting. I don't actually know all of it, but it's all sick.
I can share a fun fact. That between them and the Ioun Ascendant, apparently, if you expose yourself to the blink and/or firmament for long enough, your journey is marked by less and less of your body being able to be in real space without heavy containment.
It's so fine and normal, whatever's going on over there. It's so chill.
So
I love that. I'm like, here's some paracausal nightmares, and I'm just like, yeah, but what? Listen, I understand what that is, kind of, but what the hell is that over there?
Can we talk about how Shinji's relationship with his mom in her later stages of life is a normal and accepted thing in Ionic piloting culture?
I actually don't know anything about either of these things, but I will learn more for next time. I want to know more about. I'm very excited for Field Guide On to come out, but that's another thing. Any more thoughts on characters? But while we're here, I very much want to second the thing Marsman said about Harvestman. I thought he was said about Bookkeeper. I thought he was a fascinating character. I thought he was really nuanced and deep, and I really liked him a lot.
So glad. Thank you.
You're good at games. I like playing games with you. By the way, good at games. For everyone here who's heard me say it a million times, and also everyone at home, the definition of being good at games is that you're having fun. I'm glad you had a good time, because it was really fun playing with you. Okay. Beats and vibes. We've talked about a lot of beats and vibes. Were there any other individual beats or moments that we haven't talked about, or do you want to talk about more, that you really clicked with? I did take a screenshot of Lofton jumping down off of that rooftop and scaring the shit out of everyone in his fancy new Enkidu, because listen, Lofton may not have taken any game actions, but his presence was terrifying. And I was really excited about that. Now? What was that?
I was saying, do y'all believe me now? We could have taken him.
Yeah, I think you could have taken him. I also, after that combat and a couple of the other ones, I mean, the next slide was literally combat, but after that slide and a couple of the other ones, I learned a lot of lessons about, when to go from tier 1 to tier 2 NPCs, and a lot of other stuff like that, in combat, but that's the matter. Any plot beats that people vibe strongly with, or thought were really interesting, that we haven't discussed, or that you have more thoughts on?
Actually a plot beat, but I'm thinking about Eustace again.
Yo! Tell me about Eustace. I want to hear more about Eustace. I feel like we didn't talk about it enough.
He's just cute.
I'm so glad.
He's just a nerd.
He's just a nerd.
And but he's thoughtful and a little bit of a conspiracy theorist, but not in the weird way, in the yo, did you see those FBI files that they released and that confirmed this thing about how our government acts, and isn't that wild?
I feel like Eustace is a good example of he's not a conspiracy. Well, right, conspiracy theory, the metaphor, right? Conspiracy theory is when a theory is like a table, and you build it's a table because you balance it on top of these legs that hold it up. It's the table. That's the way you build the table, right? You build legs and you put the table on it. Legs support the table. And a conspiracy theory is when you're like, I have this theory, right? I have this tabletop, so it must have legs. I'm gonna go find them, right? And Eustace very much is just like willing to explore unreasonable sounding theories based on evidence.
Yeah, like conspiracy theorists in the way that there are like things that he wants to investigate that are literally conspiracies.
They're literally he's theorizing about the literal conspiracy that is actually for real happening.
Yeah, like I don't know what the correct term for that is, though.
Right. I mean, you weren't using like a wrong term. I was just I'm because
yes.
I think about that trope often.
It's important to clarify. It is important to clarify.
It's so good.
There's also the people who are just racist and anti-Semitic.
I missed a thing. Bright was saying like didn't plan on Bastion getting less angry. As I went on, he was just tired and like I think I'm reading that correctly. I'm like, yeah, very much. Very much. I think Bastion has the highest warrant of any character to just be tired.
Yeah.
I will find that Brendan Lee Mulligan quote later. And date a really old woman is like a really important part of it. It's so sweet. It's so good. It's so cute. I want this piece of media. Anyway, goodness. I'm really glad you liked Eustace. Eustace was another of those characters where like there was so little prepped, and so much of that happened like as I like figured out what was going on, like while we were doing it. So much of this game has be just like truly embrace we're doing it live, like it's gonna be how it's gonna be, and a lot of times it turned out really well. I'm really glad you like Eustace. I thought he was really sweet. Okay. Real quick, did any people have any thoughts on like the combat mechanics on the fights? I know that like that's some people's favorite thing, and other people's not their most favorite thing. As with any fights heavy role playing game, but like, any thoughts on the mechanics or like where the difficulty ended up sitting? How do you like where the difficulty landed? I feel like I got feedback about that specifically a lot.
I thought it was good. I think we can still handle a little bit more even, but right around there is, I think, ideal.
I've been really conflicted because it's the story aspect of the game has been super strong. But I know that I'm more inclined to the crunchy combat than some others in the game. I feel like some of the fights were incredibly hard in ways ways that were intentionally engineered to reduce the traction, just because it would have been narratively unbalanced if we had had a full control of the situation.
Okay. That's fair. Well,
I feel like the ramping pressure of the 3-fight rule, or 2 or 3 fight mission rule, didn't always have the chance to come about just because of how the narrative was shaped. And like, to be clear, I think the narrative taking precedence worked incredibly well. This was a great fucking story. Just talking about how the combat mechanically was influenced by it.
No, 100%. I think like if I were to, I think I was learning Lancer, and I one of the things where the last arc did this the best, learned about that 3-fight structure was like the rationing of those resources over those 3 fights is like it makes it more tense and interesting, and more fun. And like also like if I want to backwards justify it, like we're in the middle of a city, so we have all these resources all the time, but also like so many of our fights were also about not just managing the opposing force, but also managing the like maximum possible stakes and consequences all around us all the time. Because like when you're in a city, there's things people care about everywhere, all around you. Like if I'm to back to justify that, like narratively, you're topped up all the time, but also, there's so many consequences everywhere.
It's not just beating the guy; it's also making sure the civilians don't get squished and making sure that the water supply isn't poisoned. And
right, exactly right. Like there's so many things people care about in a city because that's where the people are. But also like, and I think but also like, listen, if we play a different Lancer game where we are slogging around in the middle of like in the middle of like a swamp, like and do not have reliable access to printers, like that different kind of pressure will be much more present. But also like, I think in future I will run the games with more of that pressure, because it's a fun and interesting pressure. Not just because I like designing torture machines.
And I should say, I think that's part of why those final combats, right? Maybe with the exception of the king, just because he was so controlled. But like those all felt, I feel like, very well tuned.
I hope it was okay that I didn't. I think the king was the first. The Lofton was the first elite that actually took their full complement of actions effectively. And like I didn't realize how much the grapple was shutting down the king, but also like the king's 3 actions, he was supposed to get a reaction between each of those. And because everyone wanted to fight in around his feet, he would have had people in range to do that. And you just shut him down so effectively. And I was like he did, like, because he tried to like ram, he tried to fight the grapple a couple times. It's like, no, this is the culmination of one of my players' very cool melee builds doing a very cool melee thing. And also the image of her just like, of Red Hen just like on top of him, so sick. It's so cool. It was so awesome.
I was going to ask, like, Harvestman, like, was that you on the ground, like, sort of pulling them down, or were you riding them around to control them?
Here, let me find the picture of Unit 1 on all fours ripping somebody's intestines out. Feral beast.
I've been around the internet. I know exactly what you mean.
Oh
no.
Mixture between like that and somebody like kind of hoisting on a sail.
That's so good. He did have all those flowy raiments. Finally someone said no capes. TM. Oh, anything else on this before we move on to the next ones? Okay.
Oh, actually, sorry. One last thing.
Yeah.
I just wanted to note, every time we were like, wait, we should stop this fight early, it always felt like a mistake.
That's fair.
Nothing about that. I just don't think we should do that anymore. I'm not biased at all. We should fight them to the bitter end every time.
I think especially season 2, from what I am estimating about where that's going to end up, because I don't know how to say. I need to take time to write it, but we'll talk about that in a second. People are probably more probably more likely to back out of fights now, just because, like, I think the Maw and the House Guard, when it's pressed up against a wall, and like Lofton are just going to fight you until it kills them. That's just where they're at. Yeah, it's just fascinating.
I don't remember what the verdict on this was, but early on I remember, I think I put forward the dueling rule of somebody being out when they lost a structure.
It was on dismount.
Oh, okay. But proposing that in order to make fights interesting and tense, that it's not to the death. It's if you run out of your first structure, or if you run out of your first structure, you actually like lose the gambit, even if you would have won with all 4 of your health bars.
Well, and also like the brawls at the beginning, the dueling among the noble scions, like that was to destroying the whole machine.
Jesus Christ.
I want to shout out, Bright was like, hey, I disagree. I think that every time he backed out, it was cool and interesting.
Yeah, but you would say. And you're allowed, and you're right. But also...
I love you're allowed and you're right. So powerful. Such a powerful... Well, yeah, because there were interesting moments. Like we mentioned earlier, Freeze Out just taking the auger up was so...
A human man has entered the fight against his will.
I loved the amount of time, like there are things that because a lot of people play Lancer on Forge and Owlbear, and it's sick and it's good. I think there were some unique, and it's also a lot less work or a lot more automated. There's a lot of really, I'm not judging other tabletops. I think they're really good. I really like the way that specifically in Tabletop Simulator, the fact that the Duskwing just flies suddenly meant that you had a new dimension to work with. More than just taking a height number up. We suddenly were like, oh, the Duskwing is just not in range of that shotgun because it simply does not have to be. It can just sail through the air it's not casting spells. It's sail through the air like hacking people. I feel like in terms of is this hacker or wizard, Duskwing is at a solid 5 of 10. Wizardness.
Well, also, the moment we saw something else on the map, right, suddenly start to ascend, the fear and horror.
Yes, it was so upsetting. I'm like, no, my safety zone.
Oh, and I
really
love
good.
the moment when Loffin's troops just have understood that that's an aircraft and it needs to go to the ground. Terrifying.
It's in that moment, I knew what it was to be NATO without air superiority.
I thought that I was really happy with the way the Lofton fight turned out. I was nervous. I was like, will people... because I think the part of the reason is that the combat was turned low and then I turned up very slowly was because I'm really worried about what happens if we lose a fight. It feels really bad. I think I gained a lot of confidence in that, but also in being able to make jamming choices where that could happen, and also Lancer, I felt like Lancer had my back as a GM. I could just tack stuff onto other stuff without fully thinking through all the math for it. And Lancer was like, yeah, we thought about that. That would be sick. Lancer had a trait that was you should give the Ultra 6 armor. And then was but we've added an interesting mechanic so that it's fun and interesting to interact with and not just miserable. And a lot of Lancer just having my back numerically. Also, the other thing I think is that I'm used to running combats in which health bars are invisible. Enemy health bars, this is not true for all my games, etc. But if people are not having fun in a combat, generally speaking, often enemy health bars get shorter if no one has seen them. Because my job as the game master is often to be an arbiter of fun. And it's not because I'm trying to shield you from consequences, just I'm trying to help us all have a good time, right? As sort of as an administrator of this experience. It's they will have shorter health bars, they will pick a different option, or they will whatever, right? So it was kind of nerve-wracking that you could all just scan the enemies. It was you all know what the health bars are. I can't fudge that. But I think it turned out really well. And you're right. I think I felt I feel like the final push was the moment when finally people were yeah, this is enough combat stress. You did this right. And also I feel y'all did such sick actions in combat. I'm glad we hit the. I was worried that the crunch would result in this in the combats being like very not fun to watch, or narratively interesting. But y'all, whenever I was like, how does that land? Like how do you take that mech down? Y'all had such sick answers for me every time, and it was so cool. And I just appreciate that. I don't know. I love that Olmo, you turned into an ooze. I thought that was so sick.
Yeah. I do hope that's mechanically okay. Like, you know, the ooze is not too much.
No, it was so cool. Also, like, even if the standard issue Baylor is much more of an armored thing with stuff that comes out of it, I think Olmo's specific style was interesting and valuable. And also, like, re-flavoring is very much an intended part of Lancer, of the vibe. Bright Eyes would like to weigh in and say that he also loves the ooze.
Yeah.
I need to find, there was a really good image that somebody did there of a four-legged dragon-like Baylor that definitely was a large inspiration for the mech.
Oh, yeah, that's so sick.
That's somewhere in chat.
Lancer artists are sick and awesome, and we love y'all. And depending on like the budget and time I have and resources I have access to for season 2, I will commission people because y'all are so cool. And I love your art, and I want people deserve to be paid for amazing work.
My brother actually for Christmas was getting me an image of the mech done, so hopefully that'll be done eventually.
That's so cool. I'm honored that y'all love this game so much. It blows my mind how much y'all have loved this game. Oh, okay.
One more thing in the art department. If the next season is 6 months out, like you've said, there is a real possibility that I will have 3D models, like somewhat tabletop ready for all of us.
Ooh.
Oh my god, that's sick. I think even if I had access to them, I would probably want to stick with the 2D sprites on the 3D backgrounds, just for a couple art reasons. Like, I think the 2D pixel sprites really pop from the 3D background mush, so it makes it really easy to read, and also it's just a very striking look.
So though, also, depending on how they're done, we could 3D print those.
I will admit, Listen, if I had all the resources in the world, I would have given y'all holiday presents that were 3D printed, painted versions of your mechs.
Well, guess whose collaboratory finally set up the SLA printer?
Hey,
oh no!
Yeah, I just actually put through the first job this last Friday, so hopefully it'll go through and I'll be able to see it this next Friday.
That's so exciting. That's so cool. Okay. I swear there is an end to these slides. Thank you all for... This has been 3 hours of us just chatting, but I really like hearing your thoughts. I'm enjoying chatting. Okay. We've talked about this in tidbits all the way through. Next season. Let's talk about next season. What people want to see next season.
I know Bright is excited for the college AU.
Wait, right. The college AU. Are we excited for the tournament arc? I think we were like... in the early teens of episodes, or a third of the way through this season, I was like, what if we do tournament arc next season? And everyone was like, please no.
I mean, but Mech Olympics.
Mech Olympics.
Nothing will go wrong. It'll be perfect, just like the normal Olympics.
I love that, like, I think it was literally the day after our... we did our final episode, they were like, here's a first-party supplement about Mech Olympics, and I was like, it's for us. It even has a Baylor variant just for Olmo if he wants to use it.
I do want to check that thing out. I do need to see it still.
You want to be a size 1/2 Baylor?
Wait, what is the book? Is it out already?
It's out. It's out. We have a side Lancer chat, and you can find it in there pretty easily. But it's also on announcements on PilotNet. I think I'm the only one on PilotNet. But that's okay.
No, I'm on PilotNet.
Yeah, I hope I haven't spoiled anything by asking PilotNet the gym questions.
Oh, I ignore that corner because I know that you go there sometimes.
Anything that is spoilers, I put under a spoiler.
Mostly, I just go to the corner where everyone talks about their very special OCs.
We love OC Cantina. It's so good.
OC Cantina is really cute. I love.
Okay.
I love.
Yeah. I'm excited for College AU. I mean, the thing is, I feel like we've been talking about next season for a long time. I do think next season might be more than 6 months out. Not because, like, I don't want more. I would love more. I need a little bit of a break sometimes. Good gracious.
What's that? You hate us personally? This is an assault?
I fucking love this game so much. It's so, like, I think I may have mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned, like, on stream, like, there was about a year and a half of prep to run the season of Divine Right of Kings. And, like, part of the reason I think a lot of the improvisation went so well is because I had a really strong idea of, like, the ideas and the themes and the characters we were exploring. So every time you went and messed with something, I had a good answer for you, partially because I understood really well, like, the environment we were in at that time. And I would have to, like, and, like, I want to have that same level of, like, ability to be flexible and respond in season 2. I think this is the game that I have prepped the most for ever in my life of running many games. So I hope the prep was worth it. Did y'all like your very fancy 3D maps and your
they were very cool
entire UI? Like, I need y'all to know that there's a secret tool that I have designed to make the workflow easier to build ridiculously involved 3D maps constantly. But also, it was so I was very rewarding, and I'm glad that people liked it. It's like I want every mech fight to feel sick as hell. So we can also get 3D maps with it. But yeah, I'm very excited for season 2 when we get around to it. Which, like, there will be a season 2 if I can swing it, because it's so cool and it's so. I really like all the things you brought to this story. Y'all brought to this story. I think it was beautiful and moving, and I want more.
For season 2, how many? Oh, sorry.
No, please.
Oh, no. Say your thing first.
I was just gonna ask, like, how many moons does the planet have?
Oh my god! Are you gonna blow up the moon?
No. Like, what is the normal number of moons?
You know, I hadn't actually thought. Somehow, I've not actually figured out the solar system outside of this, like, city.
It'll become important. We just need to know that there's not one more.
Oh yes, a normal number of moons, and there will definitely be no more. And Deimos is not among them currently.
No, good. Let's just make sure.
A phrase which is like incoherent, and then if you know Lancer lore, is terrifying.
That's the direction Olmo's going. It's just being concerned about the number of moons.
Oh, come back for season 2 when we might have Raw show up if we fuck up badly enough. This is the thing that I've said to people as a joke as I've been prepping Lancer. As I've been studying Lancer, it's like, you know what would be really funny? What if the players mess up badly enough and Raw appears because you have violated one of the contact accords? And, like, yeah, but what if that happened, though?
I don't think I've done that yet.
Oh my god.
I don't think I have. I'm not 100% sure.
Right, I know we can't raise our hands in these digital representations, but listen, raise your hand if you... the two of the three people, of the three of our player characters here, people playing, of our 3 players, more than half of them currently in this conversation have or are maybe about to do something that, like, drastically violates the first contact accords, which a digital a god may take strict issue with. Bastion is one of the few people who has not done this.
I want it to be known that if Penn does it, it will be on accident.
What I like is that there are things that have happened with Penn that are only going to pay off in season 2. That, like, there were things. So all of you, like, another thing I realized I was going to mention, like, all of you brought things in your characters that you didn't tell other people that would, like, we all found out about together. Like, we learned the other players learned as a troop, right? By the way, tell your GM your character's secrets, and then they can wrap them into the plot. But like, y'all did a great job of that. But like, there's stuff that like we haven't actually. All of the players do not know all of the other PC's secrets at this time, and there's stuff that hasn't fully been revealed yet, and I think that's pretty wild. I think that's very cool. I think that's just bonkers. And it's so good.
I mean, any secrets Penn has is from the other characters is merely because he doesn't think that they're not even things that he's considered they're like important enough to share.
Exactly. Everyone's open with each other about all the things all the time, and it's fine. I also fully believe that Penn tries to be honest. I do. He's working so hard at it. What was that, Alma?
How dare. Oh, that wasn't me.
I don't. Penn does politics. That means they lie.
Oh, yeah,
I
so
was
excited.
How dare.
I did. It was like 2 days after the end of the season. I was like, the only thing I want is to have more Lancer, and I'm so sad. Cause gosh, it's so good. Y'all are so good, and y'all built this beautiful story, and I like playing games with you. I like hanging out with you. I like the stories we build together. I think they're fascinating. Yeah. Gosh, any thoughts on, I guess, I think season 1 in general that we haven't talked about, or like that you want to say more on, or things that like you want to express about this chapter of this story in this moment?
I want to write it down as a journal.
That's so... I want to read your journal that you write down about it. I want to see it as an anime, personally. I think it would be sick. I think it would be so cool.
Somebody do that.
Somebody do... Hey, I know it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars, but listen, that'd be neat. You want to do that?
But hey, animators, you want to, like, I don't know, get exposure with this project or something? I don't know.
You said the accursed word!
No!
Oh!
It's gonna be such a good idea. It'll pay for itself. Don't worry.
I mean, I do think, not even our game, I just think if someone, like, made like a 15-minute animated short that was good Lancer and writing, I think it would fucking take the internet over. I think people would love that. But I'm not yet at that point.
5 minutes of lore accurate Blackbeard violence would overshadow all of Gundam.
I do think that is the case.
Yeah.
I don't even think it has to do it in person. I think it can do it to the robot. I think that'd be enough.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. We've learned that. You're the only one who has hang-ups about robot violence not being enough.
No, listen. I just think it's good. I just think it's spooky and uncomfortable, and I think that's cool. I love that among our flavors is I feel horror and discomfort at the thing that robot did to that other robot. That's good. That's so cool. Yeah, like what? I don't know. Are there any thoughts on this? Bright Eyes would like to weigh in, of course, on next season. Bright Eyes does inform us Bastion is going to college and kiss boys. And these are all strongly agree. These are all correct opinions, big truths. I don't know. Does anyone have any closing thoughts about season 1 of Divine Right of Kings?
On season 1.
If Penn releases their journal, I'm also going to finish the flowchart, our string chart of Doom.
I remember when I was watching Witch from Mercury come out live, and like an episode happened, and everyone was like, "What the fuck?" And someone was like, "I will explain. I understood what happened in this episode," and then made a flowchart, and I'm like, I'm I'm watching a show, aren't I? And like I love the idea of like no, we have to explain the intrigue plot with like a flowchart. It's so good. It's so beautiful. Gosh, this. Huh?
How Penn is going to be doing next season because he was given government role and he sees himself as very anti-establishment. Like he did join the group of people that were gonna like go in big robots and fight the government.
Now he's in the government. He does not.
And now he's in the government. Like he was invited to join the government because he fought in a robot.
I also wondered, like, I try to build that conclusion so that, like if we have further thoughts down the line of where we want our characters to end up, they can choose multiple of the things that were handed to them, right? But like, I don't know, if Dozer wants to go on like an albatross vacation and just, you know, do cool albatross things, like they can, like they have that available. It doesn't sound like they're interested in that, but like the button is there. I'm so fascinated to see what happens to Pendleton in an I'm part of the government arc. That sounds crazy.
He's gonna be in a mech show, but also it's gonna be a psychological horror, but also it's gonna be a political drama, you know?
I mean, listen. When I make a 34 episode, when I work on a 34 episode season with people, and each episode is 2.5 hours or longer, what I think is scope is contained, and so is the tone. I would love to see what happens.
Does Bastion want to be part of the government?
I want to see what happens to I think that poor boy should get a break. I don't think he needs to do government service. It's exhausting.
I think
the government's hard. He should get a break.
Working for the government for a week and then deciding that this shit's for the birds and like leaving.
Oh, don't worry. Yeah. There's going to be so much for Elias next season. I mean, I'm sorry. I promise not to do that voice anymore. I'm so excited for next season. It's gonna be so cool.
I can't believe I have to flirt with Elias and his fiance.
Oh my god. Heavens to Betsy, however will you I would say find the time, but like Penn has 2 hands. Penn has 4 hands. Penn has so many hands.
Penn does have 4 hands. Sometimes.
Penn has so many hands. Hands for days.
I don't like that.
You know, ominous, paracausal. Hands.
It's fine.
I don't know why it was hands, but it was hands. It was so good. There's not actually a slide for this. Actually, we can wait to final thoughts. Behind the screen, does anyone have questions for me about stuff that I was not telling while season 1 was going on? Or that
What mechanically would have gone down if Bookkeeper had gone neener to Spite and like instantly been shot? Like, what would that mechanically have looked like? What did you have in the chamber?
I mean, I think she would have killed you. That's a mech scale gun.
Is that going to be a roll? Is that going to be a just flat you die? Is that going to be
so there's this thing about holding a gun to someone's, like holding someone at gunpoint in fiction, right? That is sometimes nerfed in role-playing games because but I could make a roll about it, right?
Yeah.
You would have had a roll. It would have been a bad one. It would have been a bad one because she had all the time in the world to just sit there and aim. Also, I think the secret is that she wouldn't have shot you because Spite is a very, she's actually a very kind and reasonable person, in spite of her big mad and also constant 80s action movie affect. She's not 80s action movies. She's 90s Hong Kong action movies in her vibes intentionally, or at least that's the intent. But she's actually a very kind and thoughtful person, and I think she would have just probably sprinted forward and just hacked open the mech sitting in the back, the assumption that he was probably inside it. because she's also good at what's the political term? Good at math. Like I don't actually think she probably would have gone to kill you, not because like mechanically someone like because the way we were setting it, like mechanically, if someone tries to kill you and you're not in a suit, like it and they're in a mech especially, you can at the bare minimum get very badly hurt by that. Like that's always on the table. Your character's never like I really liked the dynamic of in out of mech. Like in the mech you have a health bar and you're making these strategic choices, and out of the mech like actually physical conflict is a dizzy mess where people get injured.
That's unless you have Black Thumb, but
unless you have Black Thumb, in which case you're making tactical choices while conducting nanites like a symphony.
well, and also you can just like anytime you exit the mech have an invulnerable shield for 1 hit.
Yep, for 1 hit. Don't waste it. Oh,
patch a graphic of how Bookkeeper avoids the fate that seems to be constantly happening to poor Bastion.
Oh my goodness gracious. Oh my goodness gracious. It's true. It's true.
Look, all I'm saying is
you really got to make somebody who doesn't blink, because Bookkeeper is going to just become more and more certain that people are going to blink rather than take him up on his bluffs.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, the first time didn't work out quite so well with the charging mech and all, but
Bookkeeper's not dead, and he suffered a 5-second knockout. The other person had a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also, like, we had to spend resources and whatnot to cover what could have been a duel.
Listen, it's hard. Sometimes we don't control everything.
Yeah.
I also, I think Bookkeeper had very good reasons to think that Eleanor was going to stop, and
Oh, yeah, there's definitely reasons why,
it was such a moment when she didn't. She also didn't use lethal force. She used one of the less lethal crowd suppression systems.
Ripper, right?
What was that?
The Seismic Ripper.
I think that's what it was. Much as with anything, less lethal. It does not mean non-lethal. But also she could have just squished you, and she didn't do that. Because she cared about you, but also she did what her training told her to first. It was such a fascinating scene. She also
really needed to inflict violence upon civilians. It was really important to her that she do that too.
I love the place I love the complex feelings we have about Eleanor. They're so good.
No, I like her, to be clear.
Oh, it's peak. Gosh, okay. Actually, any final thoughts on season 1 before we set aside this chapter for the moment? Because it was so full, and it was long, but there was just a muchness that y'all brought to every episode. Any other thoughts on it?
I'm a second Bright Eyes' sad face with 5 frownies.
Yeah.
No.
I want to be doing this more. I'm really I feel really glad that we had such a good time, and also I'm regretful that it's over. It was so cool and so fun, and I really like spending time with y'all. And anyone who watched any part of it, thank you for joining us. Also, your presence is very appreciated, and I hope you had a good time as well. Goodness me. Bright Eyes says start your season now, and that's very fair. That's very fair.
I appreciate the people who watch VOD.
Yeah, thank you. And also thank you. There's a person who's been watching the VODs and marking time codes, and I just want to thank you personally, especially. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh, anyone who's joined us on this, I think it's I know that over the course of running this, I've grown as a game master. I know that I have grown as a person. And want to say thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. Oh. Okay. Are we ready?
No.
No.
No, I'm gonna mulligan, or not mulligan.
And we got to
What's
start
the thing
over.
politicians do where they ramble and for like 5
Filibuster.
days? Filibuster. Yeah, that's the thing.
Listen, filibuster me. Get my ass.
Paradise, you could help me if your voice wasn't fucked.
No, listen, he's doing a good job.
Okay, well, I was mean.
Are we as ready as we can be to close this chapter? Is my other question. I think framed better. Are we? What was that?
I think so. I think we've covered everything just about.
Yeah. Then in this moment, let's step across this threshold. I am so honored that I got to play this game with y'all and tell this story with y'all, and I appreciate y'all a great deal. Okay. I hope it doesn't sound cheesy when I do the next part. Okay, hello. Yes, the next season will be a ways out because I have to write it and work on it in other ways. I will probably not be going dark. It's a bit ambitious as a timetable. I'm going to try really hard to put a new, either whole new mod because there's been a bunch of changes, or do a big update to the existing Lancer mod on Tabletop Simulator. And I'm also going to put out the thing that I made to make the maps on it, because I want everyone to be able to make this cool stuff, and there's no point in working on stuff if I don't get to share it, and you all don't get to enjoy the fruits of all of the cool stuff. So
Make sure the mushroom not blocking anything.
No, you're not. You're good.
Good.
I blocked things by aligning it wrong. That's okay. Listen, it's life. We're doing great. So I'm doing. So I'm gonna do my best to by next week on Monday. Release the Lancer table, and if I can release them at the same time, that's vastly preferable. The tabletop sim mod that I used to make the maps, which I'm gonna keep updating because I gotta tweak, I gotta fiddle, and talk about like how to. I might stream on Monday, or I might release a video later, or some combination of both, on like how to build maps and how to run games on the table, because I think Lancer is sometimes a little bit impenetrable to get into and to run. I know I found it that way. And like, I don't think it has to be, and I think it is friendlier than it appears in ways that are ways I haven't seen explained, if that makes sense. Ooh, my voice is finally going. Goodness gracious. I will also be around. I am on this VOD channel or this Twitch channel that you're watching right now, whichever that is. I am on the Blue Sky. I am over there. I just spent a whole evening ranting about how to get into Gundam, and other stuff over there. I'm also on the Ubis McTubis at Rattlepaw. I have the handle at the places you can find me. You know how internet work. Does anyone else have things they want to plug? Be those personal projects, be those things you think are cool and people should look up, be those experiences or actions in the world. So, does anyone have thoughts?
Nothing comes to mind off the top of my head.
This can include...
If you see ice in your community and you want to warn people about them, you are welcome to just yell, "What is ice doing here?" or shout "La Migra." Both are good.
Thank you.
That is all.
That fucking exactly. Shout out taking care of your communities in direct and actionable ways.
Shout out to taking care of yourself when you're sick. I'm sorry, Bright.
Yeah, thank you for taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
Gosh. And thank you for the very important shout out. I secretly, when I'm like plug shout outs, part of it is shouting out also cool things to do in the world. I'm like shouting "What is ice is doing here?" or "La Migra." Y'all rock. And I'm glad that y'all are members of my community, and I hope everyone out there who's joined us for any part of this. I hope you also shout out taking care of yourselves, taking care of your community. Joy and fun are necessary to the work, and I appreciate that. I hope everyone had fun here, enjoyed themselves here, and takes care of themselves in all of these ways. Y'all rock so much. Anything else before we close here? Anything I'm forgetting? Okay. Then I will see you next week, 7 p.m. PST. I'm calling it. I will be streaming something. Probably, almost certainly Lance related. It tragically won't be Divided Right of Kings, but I'll be there. Y'all are wonderful. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for taking care of yourselves out there. Thank you very much for joining us, all of you. And I think as in my capacity as GM for the last time, in my capacity as GM of season 1 of Divine Right of Kings, have a good one, everybody. You take care out there.